and well for competition, and we've already had one. We lost one at that height measuring that measured slightly over for Austria, so they're down to 3 members now for their team. There's 4 in a team. They're all riding today. Top 15 go through to the freestyle, which is always great to watch as well. But yeah, as you say, 14.2 is maximum height.
What kind of level is pony dressage?
Well, the level for the dressage for the ponies varies between sort of top-end elementary, low-end of medium, but it's a medium standard here at the championships of the ponies.
So the team dressage is about to start. Germany are the defending champions, and they've got 3 of their team here, so they're going to be strong, aren't they?
They're going to be really strong. Individual gold medalists from last year's Europeans, part of that medal-winning team last year, but they're not all on the same ponies, so it's, I think, more of a level playing field. We've got 2 members of the British team here that were in that bronze medal-winning team here, contesting for, you know, they're all fighting. They all want to win that gold.
Okay, well, it's about to start. Ellen Olsen, rather, from Sweden, is just running around the arena, or cantering around the arena. You better run.
I better run.
Back to the commentary box. You're going to be commentating with Nick Wood. So, Nick, if you can hear me over there in the commentary box, take it away.
I can hear you loud and clear. Many thanks, Lizzie and Spencer, and a very good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Championship Arena here at Bishop Burton College as the team dressage competition starts. 5 days of fabulous competition for the FEI European Championships for ponies. Well, 17 nations competing across the competitions of dressage, show jumping and eventing, and this team competition for dressage in 2 parts, 3 sessions today, Wednesday, and then a further 3 sessions for the dressage team competition tomorrow, Thursday. Well, before we give details of the first rider to come forward, which will be Ellen Olsen on daylight for Sweden, I'm delighted to be joined here in the commentary box by Rebecca Bell. Rebecca, who enjoyed great success on 3 British teams here at the Pony Europeans, and 2 of those ponies will be ridden in the team today. The first to be ridden by Izzy Lickley. She will be the first British rider to come forward, and then Megan Barrett will come forward on the second of the ponies that Rebecca rode in those teams. Well, Rebecca had Team Bronze in 2013, Team Silver in 2014 and Team Gold in 2015. So as we welcome our first horse and rider into the arena, a very warm welcome to you, Rebecca.
Hi, hello. No, really pleased to be here, and it's really weird actually to be back and watching the ponies, but fantastic to see how the sport's moving on and how amazing they are at its age.
Yeah, and moving it on it is, and the standards extremely high, and many of these riders will go on to the very top levels then in seniors, but of course it's junior and young rider level before then. So our first combination are now in, and it is for Sweden. It is the 16-year-old Daylight, owned by Jessica Olsen, the Chestnut Gelding by Dijon Z out of Tillerchon, and brought forward by Ellen Olsen for Sweden. Well, 28 marked movements in this team dressage test competition. 23 of those have a maximum of 10 marks, and 5 of the movements carrying double marks. And the one collective mark at the end of those 28 movements has double marks. So there is a total of 350 marks for grabs for each of these combinations coming forwards. So we're on our way with Ellen Olsen and Daylight. And how has the test started as you see it, Rebecca?
I think she started really positively. Looking at her record, this is her second last year in ponies, so she's not one of the most experienced riders here, but she's had a bit of competition experience. Just had a little bit of suppleness lacking in that half pass, that first one, which is a double marked movement, so might be a little bit expensive, but so far the walk movements look very positive.
Yeah, looking very positive. Good start for our first into the arena to get us underway for these 5 days of fabulous FE European Championship for Ponies competition here at Bishop Burton. And of course, Rebecca, you've gone on to young rider, junior and young rider level, and enjoyed success there. How does that compare to the pony level?
So the pony level is a really good place to start actually, because, well, first of all, everything is a little bit more controlled. You are often a stronger rider towards your end of your career on a smaller pony. Horses sometimes take a little more to convince, but that's not to say that it's by any means easy. These are really young riders, and it's a huge amount of pressure. So the way that they handle it and the chance to taste it at this level before they go onto horses is really fantastic for the future.
Yes, an amazing experience, and of course these pony riders, though, will be absolutely riding as though they are senior members of a team. This is their Olympics, and as Lizzie and Spencer were saying, it is a wonderful competition for them. Well, the combination before us for Sweden, Ellen Olsen and the 16-year-old Daylight, they were fourth in Vaglahan in the freestyle in May earlier this year, and part of the Nordic Baltic Championship team in 2017 as they continue through these 28 movements. And the ponies certainly looking easy and happy within the environment of the championship arena here at Bishop Burton.
Yes, definitely. I think you can tell the experience of the pony at his age. He's really looking like he's very comfortable in this atmosphere. Just a shame in that rein back, you saw that she just came into the arena a little too much. That's going to be expensive because whilst the steps were good quality, the straightness and therefore the connection wasn't quite there. It's quite a hard movement, that, because you have boards to one side of you, which does direct them to bring their quarters in. So unfortunate, but the transition out was very strong and the canter's looking good now.
Yeah, I was commentating with Alice Oppenheimer at Hickstead on the Grand Prix Freestyle, and the rein back, she says she comes slightly off the track just to take the horse away from the temptation of leaning against the boards, and it's always one of those things, and I think that comes with experience. But they've got great team trainers, they will know the situation, but it's a trick that's quite often used, and we use it in eventing especially, that you do come slightly away from the boards so they don't lean on them.
Yes, definitely, and that also reduces your risk sometimes. I mean, I've had in the past certainly that you rein them back and they perhaps hit the boards and scare themselves a little. So bringing that away is a good trick, or also feeling a little bit of like bending to the inside as you come back to just stop them from moving their quarters in.
Also, she said she only uses one leg. She doesn't use both legs. She uses that outside leg only, rather than the outside leg. Outside leg doesn't move. The inside leg moves. So you don't put the outside leg on and feel the quarters swinging to the inside. Yeah,
it's all about knowing your horse or your pony, really. Some of them are very well behaved and stay very well schooled in the test, but equally it's hard under the pressure. We all forget to do these things sometimes, so I'm sure we'll see some very good ones later today.
Very good balance in his simple changes. So we've got in this test, amongst many movements, the shoulder in, we've got the half passes and simple changes as she comes towards the end of her test. It's of elementary, we said in the opening gambit, just as we came on air, it's of elementary, high-end elementary, low-end medium, the standard of the test. It's enough for these ponies, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. It still requires quite a high level of collection, and you'll see some of these ponies later. I mean, they are mini Grand Prix horses. They are real athletes.
Well, not only mini Grand Prix horses, they're mini horses, aren't they?
Yeah,
in their own right.
The way they're built and the amount of suspension and cadence is unbelievable. But I think she just did a very good job on a very nicely produced pony, working in a correct manner. A couple of little perfection errors, but I think she should be very pleased with that. It's not easy to open Europeans.
No, it's not. We've got great weather conditions here. We've had real hot weather over the last it must be now coming up 2 months, and we've never seen weather like this for this long, certainly for this period of time. But the weather conditions here, it is the sun is out, but it's a much cooler day today with a really good breeze, and that will certainly help the ponies and the riders.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's hard to ride in that level of heat that we've been having, but we've had a chance to acclimatise, so Brits are quite lucky in that respect. So, yeah, looks like nice conditions today.
Yeah, and as the sun continues to shine down on us here at Bishop Burton College, a great way to start this team dressage as Ellen Olsen and Daylight complete their test. And now into the arena. It is the winner of the French Championships this year and part of the 2017 European Junior team for France. This is Alexandre Charret with Madame Alexandre Charret-Seyeur's Butterfly Dewdrop. This 11-year-old grey mare by Florencio out of Polaris Harold, just trotting around the outside. Another to come forward, looking very comfortable in her surroundings, this grey mare Butterfly Dewdrop. And there was several hours where all our combinations could come forward for a familiarisation session here in the championship arena at Bishop Burton, and that was with the cameras there, and they really took that opportunity, and hopefully that has really paid dividends. Certainly the first two coming forwards now looking very happy with their surroundings.
Well, as you said, part of that team at the Europeans in Capsavar last year. Experienced combination and looking very relaxed, cantering around the outside of the arena. And it's nice to see. I like that when horses, ponies go around the arena, they move between the markers. And you just saw then, as he popped around the bottom end of the arena, he just meandered his way around A and moving this pony, because although we've got plants around on each of the letters on the individual markers, they're quite flappy. There's a lot of movement within those flowers. So getting the ponies up and close to them, as you said, we had that arena familiarisation this morning. That started at 7 o'clock this morning. Good few hours in there. But real opportunity to take in all of the atmosphere. But, I mean, as we know, arena familiarisation, the music was playing, but the crowds weren't there. So there's another dimension to it.
Yeah, certainly a totally different dimension to it. But this combination who've been together for 3 years, looking as though they are really ready to get underway. Their canter work is usually the highlight of their test. This pony that was bred in Belgium. And they are on the way. Alexander Charret with Butterfly Dewdrop.
That looked like a really positive entry. He halted, he took it the time to salute, but then straight off into trot, meaning business, and just sets the tone for the entire test when you come in like that.
Yeah, you've got to come down the centre line and just say, look, you know, here I am, look at me. I was disappointed with his entry because he was quite short on his entry, and it made his first little few metres a little bit wobbly, and then he got on the straight line to his halt.
Yeah, no, the first turn into the centre line, given that he'd been so clever around the outside with the moving between the markers, there isn't much room in that arena to get straight beforehand, but he could have just had a stride of canter straight and then down the centre line so that you don't do your correction whilst you're actually between the boards.
Nice bit of straightness between those two half circles. Important to get that straightness. The judges will certainly be looking for that as he comes in to this half pass. The angle varying slightly. Difficult to see from our camera angle, but you could just see the angle was varying onto the centre line.
Yeah, and the judges will definitely pick that up if there wasn't a sort of a complete bending round the inside leg, because it's a real indicator for suppleness and connection, and that's why I think that mark is double marked, because it's so important for what it reveals in the training of the pony.
Yes, and 5 of these 28 movements having double marks, that being one of them, as Rebecca just mentioned.
Interestingly, I think you see the same slight lack of suppleness in that second walk pirouette. You saw as he turned, his body stayed quite straight, the pony's. Sorry, it's a mare. The pony's body didn't really bend around the rider's inside leg.
I hate pirouettes.
Oh, me too.
I think most people do. And, you know, not only do us as riders hate the pirouettes, but also I think judges find them difficult, because one person, and it is judgmental dressage anyway, it's one of the only sports in the world that is, you know, in equestrian, that is judged on how they go. Show jumping, you have a pole down, you have a pole down. Cross country, you have a run out, you have a run out. But in the dressage, you're very much judged, and, you know, it's one person's opinion on that pirouette, but it can mean the mark between a 5 and an 8.
Yes, yeah, and they really do make the difference. And it's the movements like that that are harder to execute well that are where, when you see some of the really strong combinations, that's where they pick them up, because they're getting 8s and 9s. It's not something that you sort of get through as quickly as you can and get away with. They really spend so much time in training to make sort of a mark up on the other riders in those less focused on areas.
Yeah, and I would say this would be this mare's weakest point, would be the pirouettes, and, you know, as he did, it was more damage limitation. You know, get round that pirouette as best we can.
Yeah.
If I try too hard, it might make it worse. It's about getting through the movements and showing off the horses and ponies to their best of their abilities. She can't do a pirouette, but is she good in other things? He mentioned that her best work was her canter work. So, you know, it's moving on. It's saying, okay, we'll get that one done, but then we're going to show off to our very best.
Yeah, interesting that we just discussed the reinback so much. That one was straighter, but I think you'll have seen it's rushing back a little bit, so it looked a bit of a hurry to get back. And what the judges are really looking for is a good degree of control, so every step is being placed very deliberately back. So interestingly, that probably will get a similar sort of mark to the rider we just saw, but for a very different reason.
Yeah. Alexander Charret is 15 years old, so coming towards the end of his pony career. Very nice balance in this counter-canter. Ooh. just over-collected, I think, in that corner, over-prepared, and the mare, I think she probably came back to him a lot quicker than he was expecting.
Yes, I think that perhaps the crowds faced her off a little bit there. She saw them as she came around the corner. And interestingly, as a result, that simple change, which is supposed to be over A, so situated quite centrally, was a little bit early, but a good quality of the movement nonetheless. But it perhaps just stops him breaking into those 8s.
So we're watching the second combination to come forward this morning for this dressage team competition. And it is the winner of the French Championships a little earlier this year, part of that 2017 European team.
Nicely done.
Yeah, those are double marked too, so that was very nice, very straight. Took his time in the walk, didn't look like there was a hurry about it. And again that way.
It's nice, you know, when he drops down from the canter to the walk, that the balance is good, the straightness is good. They're not losing any marks. They're trying to keep as much together as they can. Coming towards the end of the test, coming into land now. The first to go for France, Alexander Charret, butterfly dewdrop. And a nice halt to finish.
Yes, yeah, good impression to leave the judges on. And it's always these riders who are coming in as their first members of the team. They sort of act as a bit of a trailblazer. So for 2 out of 3 of mine, that was my position. I actually quite liked riding in that because you didn't know anyone else's scores. You sort of started off on a blank slate. But equally, they do have to go out there with a lot of confidence, and they're really setting out their stall for their country. So I think they're doing a very good job so far.
Yeah, a very good job indeed, and they're just showing how very accomplished these pony riders are. So, Butterfly Dewdrop and Alexander Charret for France. On that long rein, leave the dressage arena. A pat for Butterfly Dewdrop from Alexander Charret. And we will now be welcoming forward the first competitor for Denmark. And this is the 15-year-old GG2. GG2, this chestnut mare, the second mare to come forward this morning. By going east, out of Nansen, this Westphalian mare, owned by Asger Jacobsen and Carina Jacobsen, and ridden by Fredrik Gram Jacobsen. Fredrik Gram Jacobsen, forward for Denmark.
Well, Fredrik, the first to go for Denmark. She's a combination I've seen over the last couple of years, and Gigi is one of those ponies that on their day can really perform in the arena. Denmark with a fairly strong team here as well for the 2018 FEI European Championships for ponies at Bishop Burton. And it was interesting, we were chatting earlier, Beck, and you've been on 2 teams. First team, you were Team Bronze, second team, Team Silver, then you did the youth team and Team Gold, first in history to win Team Gold, but you never came here.
I didn't know.
You came
I
here
missed
as a spectator.
it. I came here in 2010 when it was last held here, and actually I just bought Sunny, the eldest of my 2 ponies, and we were currently bouncing off the sort of sides of our arena at home with not much steering, so it was quite a big goal at that time, but it was really inspiring, and I hope that there are plenty of young riders watching this today or here as spectators who get that same sort of feeling to come here one day.
Well, there is the provisional score for Alexander Charret, Butterfly Dewdrop, 67.971. So Fredrik Gram Jacobsen, GG2, this Westphalian for Denmark.
That was a bit of a shame into that halt. She looked like she came in a very nice balanced canter, much straighter than the grey pony we saw previously. But the pony just lost his footing into halt a little bit, so very hard to keep the balance when that happens.
So this pony that was previously competed by Danish rider Michaela Narvstedt on the international pony circuit, then loaned to Fredrik in 2017 for this for the 2017-2018 season. Another to have great success earlier this year in the freestyle at Viggerhan. In fact, they won that in May this year, and also winner of the Aalborg Pony Individual in April of this year. So a great start to the season for this combination, the first to come forward for Denmark.
Can you hear me in the comms? What's happened to our first score? We've got Alexandra Charret, but the Ellen Olsen's score's not on our screen. Thank you. Well, as pirouettes go, that was quite a nice one.
That was a nice pirouette. Kept the rhythm of the walk, didn't give you any sort of feeling that it was ever going to stick on any stride, so I think that was well executed.
Yeah, the important thing is we're looking for them stepping around a large dustbin lid if we're looking for size-wise, and also for the hind leg to keep stepping, that they don't get stuck.
Yes, yeah, that used to be my specialty in pony tests, was getting stuck. So keeping the rhythm of the walk, it's a hard thing to do with that level of collection, but she did it very nicely.
Yes, did it very nicely, and already seeing the very high standards at these Pony Europeans with our third combination forward.
Interestingly, this pony, bit of a sort of relationship to one of the British team ponies, actually. It's the same sire as Gigolo, who I remember watching here 8 years ago. So it is amazing to see. There's very well established breeding lines for these ponies, and a very big sort of business and input by a lot of stud farms into this breeding. They are real sport horses, just in small bodies.
It's a huge thing now, the ponies. I mean, these ponies go for a lot of money as well when they're sold, and they keep going, as you well know, with Starlight and Sunshine.
Yep.
They're here with 2 more British riders. They keep going. I mean, this pony is 15 years old. You know, we see them 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They just go through the they go through the family, or they go through the team, and they stay in the system. It's fabulous to see.
Yeah, and really gives a platform for younger riders to learn from, where the pony has a little bit more experience. Not to say none of these ponies will be sort of that horrible description of push button. You've got to be in that driver's seat, and actually this girl today is doing a really positive job. That was a much better rein back than I think we've seen from some of the previous jockeys. So having said what a difficult movement that is, she's obviously practiced that very well at home, and to execute it under pressure is no easy thing to do.
And it was very nice to see her when she came back from that canter into the collected canter, just offer the rein and say, there you go, come on up to it, meet the hand again.
Really showcasing self-carriage there.
So into this simple change. All again, just again, whether backing off the crowd, whether just over anticipating that simple change. These ponies know where these movements are coming. They've ridden them a number of times. That was a nice give and retake of the rein across the centre line. But whether they're just anticipating, because she prepared well, and then just dropped completely off the leg, and then had to just ride a couple of strides to get that simple change over A.
Oh, and there you can see again. Yeah, so interesting what you said about dropping off the leg. So obviously that pony perhaps was sitting a little behind her in that first one, and she's not able to correct it in the arena as you might do in training, and then lost it completely in that second, which will be expensive.
Better.
Yeah, much better.
I think she... you know, it's difficult when you're in the arena. It's easy to sit here being armchair critics, but I think she could have anticipated the second one coming up over C, that what happened at A may well happen again. You know, think ahead, prepare.
Yeah, and that's where getting these experiences at this championship level with the pressure and everything else really sets these riders up for the future, because it's frustrating when it happens at this level, and I'm sure she'll be very cross with herself. I would have been, because the rest of the test has been very strong, but she'll learn from it, and going forward onto horses, she will take that experience and for positive.
Yes, and as I often say when I'm coaching, everything that we do in horses is for what comes next.
Yeah.
The quality of any movement is then really sets the standard for what we do next. Well, good test for GG2 and Frederik Graham Jacobsen as they finish. Well, that score of 67.971, that provisional percentage score for our second to come forward, Alexandra Charret and Butterfly Dewdrop, as Spencer called it just a few minutes ago, and we'll bring you the provisional score for Daylight and Jessica Olsen, who are our first combination to come forward as soon as we have that.
Yeah, we're just having a few teething problems with our system, but we will be up and running, I can assure you. Just that one score in for Butterfly Dewdrop. Ellen Olsen's score is coming. We're just waiting for a refresh system to happen. Well, 3 combinations gone. 1 for Sweden, 1 for France, 1 for Denmark. And we move on to the first of the Irish competitors. But we have another score in.
We do have another score in, and that score has gone to the top of the board, with 3 having gone so far, and it is our latest finisher. And for Denmark, Frederik Gram Jacobsen and Gigi the second, and they have a provisional score of 70.4, 70.4, putting them in top spot with 3 having gone. So 70.4, the provisional percentage score for Frederik Gram Jacobsen and Gigi's 2.
Well, just learning that the reason we haven't got the first score for Ellen Olsen is that we have our judges, they have their writers, and we also have our input scorers in the boxes with the judges, and one of the inputters missed a score, so that needs to come from the sheet back into the system. So that's the reason we're running slightly behind on the first to go score, Ellen Olsen, and Daylight. We'll bring you that as soon as we can.
Yes, and talking about our ground jury for the dressage, president of the ground jury for Great Britain, Isabel Vessels. Isabel, who's been an FEI judge since 2000 and was promoted to a 5-star judge in 2011. And Isabel is joined by Marja Stukej and also by Yuri Romanov from Russia. So Tara Hayes now in the arena. Tara Hayes for Ireland with Fiona Hayes, 12-year-old bay gelding. Thornyside the Gladiator, the sire of this 12-year-old, as they set out down the centre line at canter, halt, and then away they go, tracking right at C.
So this is really good to see, this Irish combination here. I have to say, when I was doing ponies, they didn't really have much of an infrastructure for the pony riders in dressage. They've always been very strong in show jumping and eventing, so it's fantastic to see their pony team looking so strong this year.
Yeah, I saw Tara at Hickstead just a few weeks ago, maybe even a week ago. So it's all sort of blurred into one, I have to say. But at Hickstead, they held the International incorporating the Pony Junior and Young Rider team and individual tests. And she rode Thornyside Kestrel at the International there. And she scored well, but he just showed then he can be a little bit naughty. He was a little bit naughty at Hickstead as well. But as you say, the infrastructure hasn't always been there. It now is very much in place, because this is where the stars of the future come from. We've seen the likes of Laura Bechtelsteimer, Maria Alberg. They rode at the Pony Europeans back in 2000, 18 years ago, and are now representing Great Britain at Olympic, European and World Equestrian Games level.
Yeah, and the same goes for Ireland. So Judy Reynolds, who's currently showcasing Irish dressage at the very top level, is hopefully a great role model for these younger riders, who hopefully then can use this new and improved system that I know the Irish Federation have put so much into to get these pony riders out at this level, to get the experience now when they're younger, which will hopefully set them up really well for when they're riding Grand Prix.
Everybody needs international experience, and no better foundation, no better platform to start with than the ponies. It's been disregarded for many years, but it really is coming into the forefront in equestrian sports across all disciplines. And we, for the first time, for entertainment more than anything, but it has come to the Europeans this year, is horseball, and it's great to see horseball coming into the sport as well.
Yes, something actually that through my pony club I've played a couple of times. It's very good fun. So that's what we've all got to remember, I think, as well. At whatever level, we all do this because we love horses and it's good fun. And these kids, although I think she's getting a bit of a hard ride today, he looks like he's being a bit cheeky. The whole experience for them, the opening ceremony, it really is a lot of fun. You meet some great new people. So it's not all focused competition, but that's what she's up to now. So.
Seems to have settled into a bit more of a rhythm now. Interestingly, I met Rebecca many moons ago when she was at Pony Club Camp, and I was teaching at Pony Club Camp, and Rebecca riding there. We always knew she was destined for riding. We were jumping lines of grids, and she always asked me if she could do a flying change at the end of the grids, and nobody else did, but Rebecca always wanted to do a flying change. Can I do a flying change, Spencer, please? Yes, of course you can, Rebecca. We knew she was going to do dressage.
Yeah, probably sending poles flying in the meantime.
But the flying change was excellent.
Yeah. Possibly.
So, Thornyside Kestrel, this pony, a Welsh Section D, one of the few of his breed competing at this level. A combination that were second in the British Dressage Youth Home International in Dorset in just a few days ago. And then 7th at the Hickstead Pony Team competition last month. It's a big dressage competition at Hickstead, ponies and horses. The Nations Cup, of course, of dressage there, alongside the show jumping Nations Cup.
There's definitely a gremlin down at sea.
Yes, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job to disguise it, especially coming around in that canter half circle. You saw her really using her bend to the inside to keep the pony concentrating on her. It is hard because the whole thing about these marks that she's trying to go for is about sort of the connection, the relaxation that we saw in some of these more experienced ponies. But I think she's doing the best job that she can under the situation. And actually, there's some nice work.
Come on, yeah. It's not going to get you.
Bless him.
The screen is down there, but it's not even the screen he's looking at. I think it's more plants and flowers and I don't know what it is. She's done well. I mean, there was a simple change there. Damage limitation again. Get through it. Move on. I'm now got to go back towards and look at that C marker. Is he looking? No, he's not. He's paying no attention now. There was a great thing on social media the other day that there was a horse that was grazing in a field next to a barrel. And the caption was, "So it's scary when I'm on board, but it's not when you're grazing."
Yes,
you know, horses are fascinating. They're great levelers. Apparently, we keep getting told that they're great levelers. It's very hard to believe, but she is doing a great job. And the other thing I really like to see is that we've got a Welsh Section D. You know, they come in all shapes and sizes. There's no rhyme or reason. You know, whether it be at this level, whether it be at World Equestrian Games in a few weeks' time or Olympics next year. There is no rhyme or reason anymore. It's great to see so many different types.
Yeah, and actually this one with one of the nicest canters I've seen, really elevated. So I think she's done a very good job there under hard circumstances.
Well, maybe disappointed, but done an absolutely fantastic job there. Tara Hayes making it look a lot easier than it was on the 12-year-old Thornyside Kestrel. So, Tara Hayes and Thornyside Kestrel, the first combination to come forward for Ireland, complete their test in this team dressage competition. So to confirm the scores that we have so far, in top spot for Denmark, Fredrik Gram Jacobsen with GG2 with that percentage score of 70.4, and then in second spot at the moment for France, Alexander Charret and Butterfly Dewdrop with a score of 67.971. 67.971 for Butterfly Dewdrop and Alexander Charret. Well, now a score has come in for our rider for Ireland, Tara Hayes and Thornyside Kestrel. Score of 61.171. A provisional percentage score of 61.171 for Tara Hayes and Thornyside Kestrel for Ireland. Well, now the first combination for the team from Netherlands. This is Tessa Gilbers and Bouwmans Despino, this 8-year-old. By PS Don't Worry. This Westphalian, owned by A. Gilbers and ridden by Tessa Gilbers for the Netherlands. Tessa Gilbers and Bouwmans Despino.
So she's got a patriotic pony. Perfect colour for her nation.
She has. There's a lot of orange here as well.
Yeah, it's great to see the support. It's really, I think the Dutch do it very well. I mean, look at them all in the crowd behind. She's, yeah, really got a good support team.
Well, Tessa Gilbers and Bouwmans Despino, this were Westphalian for the Netherlands. And yes, as you said, I mean, you know, they really do know how to do it, the Dutch. There's always a great support network here, and well, not only here at the Pony Europeans, but at every level, there's always a sea of orange everywhere. Yeah,
and fantastic to have such a sort of easy to spot national colour. But yeah, I think we can outdo them with some Union Jacks later today, hopefully. But it's really good to see these young riders having such a team behind them and everyone coming to watch. And amazing for the Pony Europeans, the fact that they hold all the disciplines at the same venue. You'll get the event riders and the show jumpers coming to support the dressage and vice versa, which is really good for a team spirit.
Yeah, phenomenal for team spirit, and of course that's what happens at the junior and young rider level as well, with those different disciplines having their championships at the same venue. Of course, Fontainebleau in France was the venue for the junior young riders earlier this year. And you were talking a little earlier, Rebecca, about the different aspects of personal development, however we like to call it, having a wonderful time, but the personal development, all part of being part of a team, particularly at the pony level. And we saw that wonderful opening ceremony last night, and we saw that support. Yeah, absolutely huge.
It's a brilliant feeling as well, especially, well, it never gets old, but for your first Europeans, as many of these riders riding today and tomorrow will be competing at, it's an atmosphere that you've not experienced before, so it's a great introduction to probably quite a high-pressured show for you, but it's definitely an important part of it, just as much as the test is.
Well, that score now in for Ellen Olsen and Daylight, first to go for Sweden, 66.089. Goes into third place with Fredrik Graham Jakobsen, and GG2 still holding top spot on 70.400. It is Denmark, France, Sweden, Ireland at the moment, with Tara Hayes, Thornyside Kestrel on 61.171 at the bottom of the leaderboards. But a long, long way to go, and 2 days of this team dressage part 1 today, that followed by the second part tomorrow. Well, overall impressions so far, Beck, on this test?
I think you can tell this is a slightly younger pony through the level of suppleness and actually the real nice connection that he's been showing in a lot of these movements. Having just said that, he's having a little bit of a head wobble in that shoulder, and you'll just be able to see because he's got that big white blaze. But I think his natural talent and his natural swing through the back is really being demonstrated well by his rider here.
Yeah, I mean, he's 8 years old. We've seen a number of combinations so far, being 16 and 15. He'd be very much in the beginning of his career and one of his first, if not his first, European Championships. So there's a lot to take in for this young horse.
I think he's looking very relaxed in the environment, though, which is really good to see. He's obviously been well prepared.
And especially for the future.
Yes, yeah. Because as well, as you said earlier, these ponies will keep, hopefully, well, we always hope that these nice ones maybe come to the UK sometimes, but he'll probably keep on Netherlands teams for years to come. Look
Lovely
at that
holds.
halt, yeah.
Lovely holds.
Yeah, it's a combination that have only been competing internationally since March of last year. Winners of the Roosendaal Freestyle in December last year, so a really good end to 2017. For Tessa Gilbers and Bouwmans Despino.
Yeah, that halt and rein back was fairly textbook. Really good diagonal steps back. If you want to be super picky, could have been a little bit more measured, but I think with the standard of that halt as well, that was very well executed.
And showing very good balance in his up and down transitions. So from the medium back into the collected, he's really showing good degrees of connection and a balance. He sits really well. This is the thing I like about this young horse, young pony. Keep calling him a horse. They look like horses.
Yeah, he does.
But showing really, really good quality of step that is for the future.
Yes, definitely. And I think this pony, I think his trot looked like one of his strongest paces, and then actually we're now watching the canter and it's just as good. So really good to see that consistency.
And strong in all three, in all three paces.
Yes, definitely.
And watching him sit as he comes to the simple change. Nice.
Nothing looks like too much effort.
No,
for these
little
two.
bit.
It's really
just
nice.
jumped out of her hand slightly in the upward transition.
So this pony, the Irish pony that we saw before, had a lot more what I call air time, so he was off the ground for a lot longer in the canter, but also that may have been born of the little bit of tension we saw, whereas this pony has a great deal of relaxation, perhaps not the most spectacular canter, but incredibly correct.
Yeah, absolutely. All coming into the end of their test. It's not been mistake-free, but I'm sure there'll be a huge roar from the Dutch supporters. Tessa Gilbers into Holt. Not quite square. Went to correct himself and just out corrected himself.
Yes, yeah, then that was a shame given how brilliant the one was before her rein back, but still by no means a shabby halt. And I think she should be very happy with that. It'd be a good trailblazer for the Dutch team.
Wouldn't be surprised through the quality of the work if that didn't go thereabouts into the lead. I mean, it really was. Well, let's have a look at that score. Here is that provisional score for Tessa Gilbers and Bowman's Despino, 71.2. And all 5 judges agreeing on the fact that she should be in first place. So that, if that is confirmed, will be the new leader for the Netherlands. I don't think she can quite believe it.
No, well, I think this is a really lovely part of it to see the absolute delight and that she's gone to go and give her pony a big hug, and that is a lovely relationship to see between pony and rider. So very pleased for her.
And what was nice is that there were mistakes.
Yeah, more to come.
You know,
with
quite
a young
obvious
pony.
mistakes as well, and you know he still is at the top. So that is a really exciting combination for the future. Whether it be with Tessa or whether it be with another rider in the Dutch team, he is certainly one to watch out for. Just 8 years of age.
Yes, Tessa Gilbers with huge support, as we thought, from the Dutch team. Clearly overcome with that great test on the 8-year-old Bowman's Despino. Well, now forwards. The 6th of our combinations to come forward. 6th out of the 9 to come forward in this first session of dressage this morning. It is for Poland. This is Julia Bilika and the 9-year-old Donovan. Grzeslo Biliki owning this 9-year-old, the Chestnut gelding. Forwards for Poland with Julia Bilika. And as this combination canter around the outside of the dressage arena in preparation to enter a day and canter down the centre line, just to complete our judges for the dressage competitions. For Mexico, Carlos Lopez, and then Ike Ebert for Germany, and Jacques Van Dale for Belgium.
Interestingly, Jack Van Dale was judging at the recent international at Hickstead, judging these ponies, not all of them, but a number of them that were there, and it was great to see that we had, I think there were 5 or 6 nations that came over for the international in preparation for the European Championships here at Bishop Burton. And he's just showing a little bit of his cheekiness around the outside. But what I liked is that she said, okay, back to Holt.
Yes.
Back with me, and we'll move on. I expect the nerves will be quite high now.
Yes, it's never ideal when you go in around that arena and they have a good lick at everything, but I think she's handled it very well. They all work differently. Some of them sort of go cantering past really positively, but she knows what works for her pony, and I think reasserting that control and that calm feeling in the Holt was a good way to do it for that one.
Well, representing Poland it is Julia Bilika and Donovan. We've just got, following Julia, 3 riders left to go before the first of the breaks, and that will be 1 for Norway, 1 for Belgium, and the first to go for Great Britain.
So again, not that old of a pony. He's only 9, and interestingly, I think the Pony Europeans are actually being held in Poland next year. So perhaps for her, it'd be nice if she's not out this year to have a home Europeans.
Yeah, going to Stregom next year, the venue for the senior Europeans last year. Great venue in Poland. Ponies will be going there in 2019.
So having just seen that Dutch pony who had that great deal of natural swing, you can see the slight difference in the basic quality of gait with this pony. Again, his rhythm is very correct, but he just doesn't quite have that reach that Dutch pony had.
No, more quick, sharp staccato than that, you know, elevated, open trot that we watched with the Dutch combination, Bowman's at Despino. This is what makes it so fascinating. This is where the judging is so fascinating, is that they have to judge what's in front of them. Just because something doesn't come in and look like the great Vallegro doesn't mean that it's of any less quality.
No, absolutely not. And actually, many of the ponies that do exceptionally well, or certainly were doing when I was doing it, got it on the correctness of their training and a mistake-free test. A mistake-free test is a hard thing to do at this level. So it doesn't always go on the quality of the pony, but obviously it does help you a little bit initially.
But if you've got something that is really flamboyant in their movement, makes a mistake, it's really obvious. But if you've got a workman-like pony that goes to the marker, does everything on the button, like you say, mistake-free, that's almost worth more.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And really showcases the rider's ability to be able to get the very best out of their pony, whatever movement they're blessed with naturally.
Showing good relaxation in the walk, and I think not only the pirouette, but I think the walk is one of the most difficult things to ride in a test as well. If there's any tension, it's going to come out in the walk, and it's a really interesting. I'm a great ear watcher, watching the ears flick backwards and forwards, whether they're listening to the riders. Ears are out to the side, ears are pricked forward. You think, oh, what have they seen now? What are they waiting for? But watching them flick backwards and forwards, they're with the rider. And interestingly, watching her pick up from that walk into the collected walk, she didn't over-shorten the rein, because if you over-shorten the rein, you can then often just say to your horse, say to your pony, what's coming, you know, something's coming next, and they then start anticipating. It's closing the body down, closing the seat down, and closing that pace down without shortening the rein too much, so you can then move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that transition, that walk-trot transition, came in when the pony test was changed in 2012. And for a long time, they kept cantering because they'd never had walk-trot before. And you've seen there's lots of simple changes in this test, which they train the walk to canter for. So it's good to see, so far, everyone achieving their trot.
It sounds simple, but it's not. I mean,
no,
you know, we watch in the Grand Prix test, you know, you bring back in a simple movement, and all of a sudden it's back to basic training, and the horses think, what?
Yes.
I don't understand. Why are we not doing passage or piaffe? Why are we doing a trot to walk or a, you know, canter to trot? That doesn't make any sense to me. It seems alien, and it's great to see, because it just goes to show that the scales of training have been secured, concreted in from the beginning, and the foundations are there. Yeah,
as a rider, it's very easy to get quite sort of bound and focused on the really difficult movements, because often they take a long while to train. But you know, you should never forget those transitions, especially, are very valuable to make correct, and they're the building blocks for everything.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of work going in within the training for these combinations, and that's certainly being shown here by Julia Bellicchi and Donovan. Well, another combination that have been together since the beginning of last year, competed at last year's Pony Europeans.
I'm liking his canter, and I like the way she did the give and retake as well.
Yeah, really
very
showed
obvious.
A break,
yeah,
which sometimes you don't see. People can be quite tactical. I think sometimes it's necessary, but that was very good.
Yeah, I do. I think you're absolutely right. You know, tactics in the arena are very important, and arena riding very important. But I think to do a very good give and retake is to be brave, and it's also, you know, almost to say to the judges, there it is, because sometimes you do it and the judges say, not enough.
Yes.
What do you want? You know, and I when I'm teaching, I say, just treat the judges as if they were blind.
Yeah.
And make it very obvious what you have done, that you have done a give and a retake.
Yeah, dressage is the showcase, and interesting that actually you use the word brave, because I firmly believe whilst dressage doesn't have the sort of the gumption and the adrenaline that cross-country perhaps has, you do have to be brave. You have to ride it on the edge to get those top marks, and sometimes it goes wrong. But if you want your 8s and your 9s, that's where you have to be.
Absolutely.
So the winners of the freestyle to music in Sopot in July this year, complete their test. So Julia Bilicki and Donovan, competitors number 48 and the 6th to come forward in this first session of dressage this morning. Now walk out of the arena on that long rein.
Well, there is the score for Julia Bilicki and Donovan, ranging from 63 to 65%. 65.057 puts her into 5th place currently in the early stages of this first part of the team dressage competition at the FEI European Championships here at Bishop Burton for ponies. It is to Tessa Gilbers and Bauman's Despino still leading 71.200 with Frederik Graham Jakobsen, Gigi the second, Denmark in second, 70.400. Long way to go though, and top 15 from the 2 days of the team competition go through to that freestyle.
Well, now into the arena, trotting around the outside of the actual dressage arena itself for Norway. This is the 13-year-old Rogils Boromir, owned by Kari Jordan Kravik and ridden by Sarah Jordan Kravik. Sarah Jordan Kravik comes forward with Rogils Boromir for Norway.
It was lovely to see again that the Polish rider having a hug with her family, and she was obviously very pleased with that score. So whilst 65%, it's not an individual medal score, but obviously she's had her own personal goals coming into this championships, and it's great to see her achieving them. It's
easy to lose that fact and lose that sense as well when you come to a European Championships. You want to do the best you can. You want to do as well as you can do, not only for yourself and for personal gratification, but also for your team, for your country. And there's a lot of weight on these young persons' shoulders. You know, age 12 to 16. It's a huge amount. It's a huge deal getting here, representing your country at European Championships. It's enormous.
Yes, definitely. And I think the perspective that she's obviously kept, and she was very happy with her test, and whilst there were some little imperfections, I think her overall impression and the fact that she's remained positive and she was so happy with it was lovely to see.
Well, Sarah Jordan Kravik and Rogils Boromir for Norway, just entering the arena for their test in this team competition for ponies.
Yeah, it's a combination that were 6th at Kristiansand in the individual pony competition in May this year, and scored a personal best there of 67.459%. 67.459%. That's a personal best in May this year for this combination of Sarah Kravik and Rogils Boromir.
It's one thing I've never quite understood. Becca, you might be able to help me on this one, or you might not be able to. But people saying that it's a personal best in the dressage. It might be a PB, but I find it difficult to take that PB from one competition to the next, because we have 5 judges here. Those 5 judges here might not be the same 5 judges that were somewhere else, and also they've got out of bed a different side. It's a best score, highest score, but is it a PB?
No, I think sometimes your best test doesn't often score you the best, not because of any judging input, but sometimes you do your best test and you have a big whoopsie in the middle of it, but you've really achieved your goals and you've got perhaps your pony in front of the leg for the first time and really taking you positively, and for you that was your best test, but doesn't perhaps reflect it in the scores. Especially at the European Championships, I think it's harder to get access to these really high scores because you are in a field of such high quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, Spencer and Rebecca, maybe it comes back to what we were saying a little earlier on at the start of this session, that of course in dressage, the only of the main equestrian disciplines which is decided upon the decision of the judges. It's not like knocking a pole down, it's not like having a run out on cross country.
No, as I said earlier, you know, you have a pole down, you have a pole down, you have a run out, you have a run out. This is subjective. It is it's a human being's opinion, and until we get robot judges, it's going to be like this for a long time.
Yes, yeah, and you'll have noticed there are 5 judges, obviously, so that does help sort of negate any personal like things, and also the judges see it from different
All
sides of the
different
arena.
perspectives.
Yeah, so they all see different things. But no, it is subjective, and I think that's why it's important. I personally always go in with my goals that are not score-based, and I've been taught to do that because I used to get very bound by scores. It's very easy to do so. But at the end of the day, the score is actually, you have no control over the score. You have a control over the way your pony goes.
I think that's an incredible attitude to have, and it's one that I've also ridden by, is that you go in there, you have your own goal. You have, you know, I've won a competition, and I've thought that wasn't a winning competition. I've been way down the field and thought, do you know what, that was the best this horse has felt, regardless of how the marks reflect. And I think you've got to do that as you go into the arena, rather than think, oh, is that judge giving me a 6? Is that giving me a 5? Have they given me a 9? Is to go in there and say to yourself, okay, little mistake there, where's my next 10?
Yeah.
Where's my next 10 coming from?
Absolutely. And by keeping it within the things that you can control, it helps you sort of set your own goals, set your own stall, and sometimes it can be disappointing. Sometimes you don't get the score you're perhaps hoping for, but it helps you sort of consolidate with yourself that you did what you wanted to, therefore it was a good day out.
That was a very nice halt. Just a shame that the rein back didn't quite go to plan, but that is a perfect example of saying, right, okay, that didn't go to plan. Where is my next big mark coming from? Is it going to come from the medium canter? Because what you don't want to do is go into the next movement and say, and be thinking about what happened in that rein back.
Yeah.
Is take it with you into the next movement. Leave it there. Box it up, leave it there, move on.
Absolutely. And that's especially relevant when you've got a pony or a big mistake or a big spook or something. Because if you're thinking about that and half of your brain is occupied doing that,
You
you
take
then,
it on.
yeah, you can't
Take it with you.
improve your rest of the test. Oh, interestingly, the pony had a little tongue poke when he had his contact release there, which was bless him. It wasn't out the side. It didn't appear to be a resistance, but quite funny that he sort of licked his lips a little bit.
And they are wonderful characters, these ponies, particularly aren't the
Definitely.
ponies.
Well, I always try and stick up for the male species, but maybe he was trying to multitask there, and as he tried to multitask, he had to stick his tongue out.
Yeah, concentration
Really
face.
had to think about what he was doing.
Well, I think as riders we all have horrendous concentration faces, so we'll allow the ponies to have one too. So that's actually one of the harder movements in the test. Yeah,
We've seen some execute it more and be, as we said, be braver, because that short movement is a really important one.
You've got and you've got to get up to medium canter and then back to a canter that's good enough to walk from. But if you sort of make the walk transition easier by not doing a good enough medium, you then lose the mark there. So it's all about those transitions, like we were saying, basic training. So I think perhaps they could have been a little bit braver, but it does depend on how the pony feels on the day. Sometimes you can't risk it.
And it's your one and only opportunity. You know, we've said this on many occasions. I've commentated on a few European Championships for ponies, and you know, you go in the arena. There's no point in leaving your extended canter in the warm-up arena. If you're going to do an extended canter, now is the time to show it. You've got to go for every single mark.
Yeah.
Be brave for riding those marks, because if you don't, your next team against you might, and that's where it can be won and lost. That's where medals can be won and lost.
Absolutely.
So the score in for Sarah Jordan Kravik, there's a provisional score of 64.743%, and those scores ranging from 63 at H up to 67 at B, sorting them into 6th place. Score 64.73.
Well, quite a big range, 4% of marks between judges, but as we said, it's subjective. The people, the judges are sat around the arena in different positions. They all have different aspects, different views of each of the movements. They judge accordingly. It's not that one is thinking, well, that's not as nice as that. It's just that they see different things, and that is what we must make very clear to you watching at home, is that the judges see very, very much different things in the arena. Well, I'm going to jump in here and say, Rebecca Bell, Isabel, thank you very much. You're going to come back and join us in the commentary, but you're off to support the first to go for Great Britain. That comes in 1 horse's time, Isabel Lickley, and your old pony, Valido Sunshine.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go and cheer on Sunny, but I will be back later. So fingers crossed for them.
Thank you very much.
Rebecca.
Thank you.
So as Rebecca leaves us, and what a wonderful insight and expert view she gave us for pony dressage, we welcome for Belgium Jette de Jong with Aiko van de Beckerheide. This chestnut gelding by Aikoen out of Kooihusta, Volkert. Forwards as the 8th competitor to come forward. Just walking now around the outside of the arena. Well, all the teams in this team dressage have 4 members within their team, the maximum allowed, other than Austria, who will come forward with 3 team members. So all teams have 4, other than Austria, who will have 3. And the first forwards now for Belgium, Jette de Jong and Aiko van de Beckerheide.
Well, just 2 left to go before the first of the breaks, and it is now for Belgium. Jette de Jong with Aiko van der Beckerheide, 12-year-old. We've seen some great tests so far, just 2 breaking the 70% barrier, 1 for Denmark, Friedrich Graham Jacobsen, and GG2 on 70.371, and Tessa Gilbers, Bowman's Despino for the Netherlands, 71.200. They're our current leaders in the first part of the pony team test here at the FEI European Championships at Bishop Burton College up in the east of Yorkshire. Been a host to many top competitions, Pony Europeans formerly here. They know exactly what they're doing. Great team of organisers, officials, and it's great to have the 3 disciplines of pure dressage, pure show jumping and eventing all under one roof.
Yes, magnificent facilities here at Bishop Burton. Of course, one of the UK's leading land-based colleges, involved in so many aspects of land-based education. But equine, of course, has always been at the forefront of education, and the facilities second to none here at Bishop Burton. So Jette de Jong and Aiko van der Beckerheide continue through their test.
Very quick on his pirouettes. Certainly wasn't going to get stuck in his pirouette to the left and pirouette to the right. So coming into the free walk. Nice to see her let the rein go in the stretch, but then just that little bit of tension creeping in, lack of concentration, and just broke momentarily, but quick to pick up the free walk again. She's just keeping hold of the rein a little bit more now, and as she goes to pick the rein up, just slipping the rein back through her fingers, not taking up too much.
This combination, who were 3rd at Duinbeek, part of the pony team there in June earlier this year. 12 years old, Aiko van der Beckerheide, with Jette de Jong in the plate, just 14 years old. And of course, we now have children on ponies there. They thoroughly enjoy their European Championships, and they did that alongside the junior and young riders at Fontainebleau. The age group there, 12 to 14 years old. And this, of course, the level up from that, the ponies.
Well, nice angle kept in the shoulder in and in the half pass. Nice change of bend through on the half circle, good balance.
So Aiko van der Beckerheide stood motionless after that halt.
Again, good transitions from the medium back into the collected, and then this half circle teardrop back to the track, counter canter, keeping the bend, keeping the regularity, the engagement of that inside hind leg. Now the one with the white, that hind leg, good strike off. It's so nice to watch these pony riders riding with such maturity in the arena, and that's where we're talking about the give and retake. It was obvious, but I'd like to have seen a little bit more give in the rein rather than just offering the rein forward.
Yes, not quite as obvious as it might have been.
No, I mean, she offered the hand, but actually what the judges are looking for is that give and retake, is the giving of the rein, not just pushing the rein forward, staying on the same rein contact, that they're able to show that they can let them go, they stay in self-carriage, and then moving them back and picking up the rein, that they don't go against the rein, against the hand. And this is what we're just talking about. Becca was just talking about is the medium. There's the collected, medium, collected, half circle, simple change, and then half circle again away. A lot in that movement. Well, coming into the last part of a test, that's why that medium canter, half circle, with the simple change in the middle is worth double. That's ×2 into the final halt. And saluting our 5 judges, looking very pleased with her test, looking very happy as well. Her pony, Aiko van der Beekerheid, this 12-year-old gelding.
Yeah, another one looking very pleased with her test. She was a picture of concentration as she came forward to that final halt, and then the concentration released, and looking very happy as another pony on a long rein. This time Aiko van der Beekerheid makes his way out of the arena. So awaiting for Jette de Jong for Belgium's score. And here it comes, and it is a score of 68.229%, a provisional percentage score of 68.229, putting them into 4th place.
Yeah, good score for Jette, Aiko van der Beekerheid. Really good consistent test. Just a little bit off the leader, 71.2, as we go down into the last combination before the break here in the championship arena. They were bronze medalists last year, team from Great Britain. Just 2 members of the team from that bronze medal winning team. But it is now the turn of Team GBR.
Yep, and it is the turn of Isabel Lickley and Valido Sunshine. This bay mare by Valido out of Marathon's Jasper, who was ridden so successfully in former Pony European Dressage competition by our guest, Rebecca Bell. And forwards now, the first British pairing to come forwards, and the final pairing in this first session of dressage this morning.
Well, Caroline Bell, the chef to keep, been a chef for a number of years, along with the dressage team trainer, Clive Halsall, work very closely together. Great team out there as well. Claire Howard, who works with all these ponies, massage, physiotherapy, the veterinary teams, Tim Randall.
Yes, and of course it's not just the senior teams that have this huge backup. It is vital and plays such a huge part at all levels. And Spencer was saying what a brilliant team here, as it is for all the nations here at the Pony Europeans. So, Mr. and Mrs. R.J. Licky's Valido Sunshine down the centre line with Isabel Lickley for Great Britain.
Yeah, Isabel Lickley for Great Britain. Last to go in this first half of the pony team competition. I've had some fabulous form. Valido Sunshine has been a great stalwart on the British teams. Becca rode Valido Sunshine onto many team medal positions. Great form on him, not only at international competition, but also nationally. In Great Britain, she competed on the Sunshine Tour with Valido Sunshine. Just has a beautiful way of going. And this is what we were talking about. This is what it's all about. These ponies going from one rider to the next and giving the experience to these riders. How lucky are they?
A lot of presence, this pony.
Yeah, he's very bouncy. He's always showed good elevation, good lift off the floor. Very engaged. He is a mini horse. They all are mini horses, but he certainly is. You know, the length of his stride compared to a number that we've seen before is very noticeable, and he shows in all of his work good connection. The tongue just coming out slightly there, but good connection, good cadence, good balance, everything we're looking for in these tests. Like to see the rein, just him take a little bit more length of rein in this free walk.
Well, if you've just joined us, we're delighted to have you with us for the FEI European Championship for Ponies, the first morning of first day of competition, the first of 5 fabulous days of competition, and you're watching for Great Britain, the first pairing to come forward for Great Britain in the team dressage. Isabel Lickley with Valido Sunshine, the 15-year-old by Valido.
Well, it is in fact extended walk, and the length of rein I think still could have been a little bit longer for the higher marks. Slight head tilt on the second of the half circles into the half pass. Isabel riding this pony really well, using the arena, riding the transitions. Just looks a little bit that he's come back to her too much in the extended trot. Was a little bit, I would say, wary about moving off of her leg in the first couple of strides. Not quite square in his halts. Could have established it for one more second if being uber critical. Just for the higher marks. But it's what it all comes down to. You know, you've got to go for these marks. You've got to have each of those marks. It's marked out of 10. Some of them are double. And if you don't, if it says halt, immobility, salute, you need to immobilize the halt. Show that you can immobilize the halt for a good number of seconds and then move on. Nice balance in the counter-canter.
There's 28 movements in total being marked, 5 of those having double marks. And then, of course, in addition to those 28 movements, the collective mark. And that one collective mark also having double marks.
Yeah, see, that was a very good give and retake. She went low on the rein, but there was a definite loop in the rein. Valido Sunshine stayed in perfect balance. Stayed in self-carriage. That could have been a little bit clearer on the canter walk transition. Get prepared slightly more in the corner and then back into this true canter. Half circle, simple change. Half circle, medium canter, collected canter, half circle. This is where it gets very, very intense. Could have shown more in that medium, could have been braver. We talked about being brave, even in dressage, brave. Showed a real difference. Well, very nearly at the end of her test. I mean, it should go into the lead from what we've seen so far, but it could, I think, have been even further in the lead with the braver riding and the braver marks.
Well, a huge cheer from the home crowd, home supporters, as Isabel Lickley and Valido Sunshine for Britain complete their test, and they are the final combination to come forward in this first session of team dressage this morning. Well, as Spencer said a few minutes ago, maybe being uber critical, but you know, this is the level that these top pony riders are at, and we'll see if this score does represent a score that puts them into the lead at the end of this first session of dressage.
Well, I think it will. I think it will go into the lead. It's just how much it will go into the lead by. There is Caroline Bell in the blue shirt, the chef de keep of the British pony team. Clive Housel on the right-hand side of your screen, just pointing in the direction where we should all be going. But that score will be in momentarily. We'll hopefully then bring you a quick leaderboard of the first half after the first 9 horses, 9 ponies. Keep calling them horses. They are horses, but they are ponies. This is the European Championships for ponies here at Bishop Burton for the 2018 European Championships. There is a score, hasn't quite gone into the lead, so that a bit of a surprise. Valido Sunshine, Isabel Lickley goes into 3rd place, and their score ranging from 68 to 72, 70.286 in 3rd place in the FEI European Championships here at Bishop Burton for the Pony Europeans. Well, that leaderboard currently, we'll try and get you that just as soon as we can. We've got about 20 minutes now, just under 20 minutes before we get back underway with the first to go for Germany. There is that leaderboard, is Tessa Gilbers and Bowman's Despino, 71.229. Second for Denmark, Friedrich Graham Jacobsen, GG2, 70.371. Third, Isabel Lickley for Great Britain, Valido Sunshine, 70.286. Ellen Olsen, first to go, Daylight for Sweden, 68.343 in 4th. And in 5th, Jette de Jong and Eiko van der Beekeheide for Belgium, 68.229, and 6th, Alexandre Chéret and Butterfly Dewdrop for France, 67.971 in 6th place. They are the top 6 so far in the first stage, the early stages of the first 9 in the FEI European Championships on Bishop Burton 2018. This is for ponies. We're now on a break. Jenny Lauriston-Clark just walking from right to left. She's here supporting. It's great to see her here, of course, former Olympian, and we'll be back in a few moments' time with the second half of the European Championships for ponies, the team test, part 1. time. There's a good give and retake. That was a very obvious.
And the pony just did not change. No drop of carriage, or he didn't dip his head or put it up in the air. So that's very well scored.
I was just about to say, I know in actual, dressage terms, that glitter quarter markers used to be able to do glitter quarter markers. They were actually taken away from FEI competition because they said it took away from the overall look of, took their eye away, judges' eye away. So they were taken out of competition. But certainly sparkling, this Palomino.
Yes, yeah, and I think you get away with it because he is such a golden Palomino anyway. I think he's a stallion still. He certainly was when I was competing against him. I don't know if he's been gelded. So he's got that natural sheen to his coat. This pony, interestingly, actually has a few offspring starting to come out on the circuit too. So he's a testament to sport and breeding.
And still a stallion.
Yeah.
That was, those were very good simple changes. That was an example. She obviously learnt from that first one where he was a little abrupt, and then rode him very carefully into those, really nurtured him through them.
Well, you see down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, it says half vault. I always got confused when I read a test and it said half vault. It's just a half circle.
Yes, yeah, it's a fancy word for a circle. They're 8 metres for the trot in this test, and then the half ones are 10 metres in diameter. I'm not quite sure where it came from, actually, so it'd be interesting to see if anyone knows. I'll ask at some point.
What's that?
Well, where the word, why it's used in this test rather than circle.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? I mean, it's FEI, and you only see it in FEI. Well, there is that first score for Jana Lang and Keith Cyril, 74.457, ranging from 72 to 77%. But all 5 judges are in full agreement. This is the best they've seen. All putting Jana Lang at the top of that leaderboard, and they will go to the top of the leaderboard. 74.457, Germany out in front.
Yeah, I think that was a well-earned score. That was a very, very accomplished test. So what we were saying earlier about mistake-free, it wasn't entirely mistake-free, but there were no moments that I think would have dropped them down to the 4s and the 5s, which are really expensive, and it had that basic quality throughout.
So it's Jana Lang and NK Cyril really show their form, the form they've had for the last 2 years. We now welcome Italy's Beatrice Nucci into the arena. This chestnut gelding by Pilgrim's Red out of Valentino. The chestnut Prisco, owned by Francesca Loda, and brought forward by Italy's Maria Beatrice Nucci, the first combination to come forward this morning for Italy.
We can just see the ponies in the background there in the warm-up arena. So they get real opportunity, not only from the arena familiarisation this morning, but also then a chance to come into the arena and soak up a little bit of the atmosphere. But it can be sometimes a little bit off-putting when the one before you's finished, they then go into this rapturous applause.
Yeah.
Can be upsetting for some.
And also, interestingly, something I only had to contend with in my last year is this electronic scoring, which of course for spectators is fantastic because you know straight away. But as a rider, it's very hard to keep that mindset really focused when you hear 74% for the pony that's just gone before you. So it's quite a challenge.
A challenge, but all part of the learning curve at this top international level for our pony riders, as Maria Beatrice Nucci for Italy comes forward to the halt after cantering down the centre line. So the winner of the Italian Championships this year are underway, this 13-year-old Prisco, ridden by Maria Nucci, just 12 years old, Maria. They were individual 6th at Brno earlier this year, and on the pony team in March in Onano. You've been competing for the last 2 years together, but this is the first year internationally for Maria Nucci and Prisco.
Just going to say, Rebecca here, 12 years of age. She's got some very, very long legs on her. How old were you when you competed in your first Europeans?
My first Europeans, I was 13, nearly 14. So I was obviously a bit older, not necessarily a bit wiser, but I was certainly smaller on my pony. So she's obviously a very tall girl. But this is where the FEI caters for this a little bit more. Juniors actually overlaps with ponies.
Yeah.
So if aged 14 you are too tall for your pony, you can move straight on to juniors, despite the fact you're not out of ponies until you're 16. So I was lucky I got my full time, even if I did have to squeeze into my saddle a little. But yeah, she looks very tall.
Well, you had great success coming up through the pony system and into the youth program as well. Tell us what it's like to be here. Many of these, and I would think definitely Maria is in her first European Championships representing Italy. What was it like representing Great Britain for the very first time?
It is quite daunting because even though you have, in order to get to this point, you must have done an international competition. There's a qualification rule. You have to have scored, I think it's 62% at a CDI. So she's been internationally, but it's just a whole different atmosphere, and the whole part of it of riding on a team does add a little bit of extra expectation. You want to do your very best for your team members. So the sort of trick for these riders is, I think Charlotte says it very frequently, that it's just another arena, and it sounds like a very blasé thing to say, but that really has to be the attitude that they take into here, that it is just another test. They've ridden this test several times, and they have to do it the way they know they can.
Yeah, just another arena in another field or in another equestrian centre, but it is European Championships. This is a real stepping stone for many of these riders. They'll be hoping to compete, as you said, for many years to come. You got your full term, and many of them will be hoping that. But unlike your first CDI, this time you're representing your home nation. You've got your first flag on your jacket.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, your team clothing. It's just fabulous.
It is, and it's an honour more than anything, and you feel incredibly proud, but you do really want to live up to expectations and do well for your team, and especially for these first riders for their nation. They're the trailblazer.
Yeah, and I've always said, you know, when you go to a competition, you never go to do badly. You go to do the best that you can do, but there's also that you've used the word, you can get bound into this whole preconception of overriding, of overdoing it, but actually to make sure and know that your preparation is all good, know that your homework is all correct, knowing you've not left a stone unturned, you can go in there and hopefully relax, be brave and ride for the marks.
Yes, absolutely. You should have, all your hard work should have been done in your arena at home. Your warm-up is just that, your warm-up. You shouldn't hopefully be having to train things in your warm-up. And then this, really, in an ideal world, when your pony cooperates and doesn't have a spook, because this one looks like it is being cooperative, is your chance to showcase all this hard work that you've done. So it's a great stage to perform on, and obviously you want everything to go as well as it can.
And talking about hard work, it's just worth mentioning again to everybody out there that, you know, the success that Rebecca, that you've had, Team Bronze 2013, Team Silver 2014, and then Team Gold 2015. Great success. At
least it was going in the right direction every year. You were going up a colour.
Yes, yeah, it was. I was very lucky to compete at a time that we had a very strong team, because 4 of you have to make up that team, and although only 3 scores count, that you can't go in there with the confidence unless your 4th member goes in there and really sort of puts the gauntlet down. So I was very lucky to have some amazing teammates and yeah, some medals.
Yep, it's about the team. 4 of them in it. As Maria Beatrice Nucci and Prisco for Italy, our first combination to come forward for Italy, complete their test. Well, great support as always from all the teams, and this time from the Italian supporters as Maria Beatrice Nucci completes her test. Well, the score for Maria will shortly be in front of us. And the second rider to come forward in this second session of dressage this morning. And that score now up, putting her into 8th place at the moment, 65.6. 65.6, the provisional percentage score for Maria Beatriz Nucci, Prisco. And those scores ranging from 65 at B up to 66.571 at E. 65.6 the score.
Good to see that there was a very level scoring. You know, majority of the judges there on the 65%, just that one slightly higher. But good to see that there was a level scoring system, and they were all in agreement.
Yeah, all the judges very much in agreement of the standard of that test. So yeah, that's always really reassuring, because these judges, I mean, they judge at levels far higher than this, so they are very, very qualified to do this. But equally, as you've said, it's subjective. It is hard sometimes to come in and judge these ponies at this level, and to be so consistent is very impressive.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point, Rebecca. Our international FEI judges are judging at all levels.
Well, a number of the judges that are judging here were judging the Grand Prix at the recent Hicksted International. They judge all over the world, all around the world. They see a variety of horses at top level, and then to be able to come and judge the Pony European Championships is fantastic to have this calibre of judge here as well. We now move into the second rotation, so this is the second rider now for Sweden, Team Sweden.
And it is Major Carlson and Wise Guy. This owner-rider combination, the second combination to come forward for Sweden. By Bodo, out of Orchard d'Avanche, is KWPN registered bay mare. Wise Guy, just still on the outside of the dressage arena. Just forwards to canter from the walk as they warm up in preparation to enter at A and come down that centre line at canter.
Always fascinates me why they call mares by male names. This is Wise Guy.
I think it's or well, sometimes either that, or you get sometimes some interesting printing from. I've had start lists where my mare's been down as a stallion before, and although she felt very flattered by that, it's not quite the correct. But no, yeah, an easy name to pronounce though, which is always nice.
Is always very nice. Yeah, definitely.
Major Carlson for Sweden with Wise Guy.
Well, the second rider for Sweden, the first we saw was the first to go of the day, Ellen Olsen Daylight, 68.343. That currently has them in 6th place. Again, we see the different types of ponies, and this another big moving pony.
Yeah, very athletic. And looks very much like a little horse, this, in the way that she's built. Yeah, very leggy.
Well, a little mistake in the first part of that extended trot, where you talk about little horse. One of the horses that we saw the last to go before the break, Valido Sunshine, you know very well, that definitely little horse, and he looks incredibly bouncy to ride.
Yes, I will give Izzy full kudos for that. Bounciest thing I have ever sat on. She doesn't have the biggest trot of all of them, but she certainly is a bouncy one. So that's where these little riders actually themselves, they have to be athletes. There's many of these that will spend time in the gym, and it's all about their commitment to the sport starting at such a young age and being athletes themselves.
Yeah, watching her ride, and I was watching, she's got lots of little badges on her lapel, and her lapels were jumping up and down as she was sitting and going with the movement on your ex-mare.
Major Carlson and Wise Guy, they were second in the Swedish Pony Nationals a little earlier on this year with a youth ranking of 36. Major Carlson, 15 years old, on the 10-year-old Wise Guy.
Ooh, now that was very carefully avoided sticking.
Wasn't it just? I was just looking at the hind legs there stepping around, and it was very, very close to getting stuck. So we can't quite see the footfall, but that looks slightly better there on the second of those.
Yeah, it's about getting that balance, because like you said about being brave, you want them to be small for the really high marks, but you do run the risk of it coming stuck, so she was clever there just to avoid it.
into the extended walk. Lets the rein go, looking for the over track from the hind foot over the footfall of the front foot. Looked pretty good there. Maybe a little bit more purpose in the extended walk, but it's relaxed and it's easy to overcook. Yeah. And just start bringing in a little bit of tension, but looking fairly relaxed, and a little bit and nicely relaxed over the back and over the top line.
No, I thought that the steps themselves were quite nice. Just maybe needed the pony just seeking a little bit more, like she's going somewhere. I always think the extended walk should look like that. She's not late for an appointment, but she's purposefully walking. This trot is amazing. I mean, it's got so much cadence.
I was just about to say, as they came around that top end, at the A end of the arena, you could just see this pony, this small horse, doing steps of passage and piaffe.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that really is the capability that these ponies need. But then, in the same breath, these riders have got to be careful that this trot keeps moving, because there you almost see it becoming too passagey.
Yeah.
And it's then not a true collected trot anymore. So it's interesting there that that was the pony's tendency. Its
collection still covering the ground, and as you picked up on there, we were just noticing it. There was just a small tendency just to come a little bit on the spot and not have enough travel.
So there's where the test actually worked quite nicely for her, because then it had the extended trot to go and put the pony back sort of in front of her leg before this transition to halt. So 5 strides back, that rein back.
Nicely into the canter.
Very nicely.
It's important they don't do sort of 1 too few, 1 too many. They get very heavily penalised. It's very exact, so 5 steps. And unlike the usual walk pattern, it's diagonal pairs backwards. So that's something that actually is quite... Some ponies go 4 steps back. It's sort of their natural tendency. So really important to school them in a manner that they do it correctly for the test.
And nice to see this pony really curling around her inside leg, her right leg, keeping that counter canter before the first of the simple changes. They just all are losing it around that bottom end. It's not unfamiliar because they've been round there a few times, but they are just backing off the leg, aren't they, coming around the turn?
No, it's very interesting. And this is where actually, so you'll notice when this team competition is finished, the average scores of tomorrow are usually higher because people tend to put their stronger team riders. But it does also help to watch this first day and as a rider think, oh, okay, that's happening out in that corner. Maybe I need to compensate with a bit more leg if they're just being backed off there.
Yeah, absolutely. And people will be watching, of course, you know, teammates will be watching, team trainers, chef de keeps, they'll all be watching, keeping an eye and saying, and this is not just in the dressage, this happens in show jumping, this happens cross country, that you get word on the street. It goes back to the lorry park, it goes back to the teams. They then put that into tomorrow's or this afternoon's dressage and just saying, okay, this is happening, guys. Make sure you do something about it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the second of the 3 dressage sessions for the team competition. 3 sessions today, 3 sessions tomorrow, Thursday. As Major Carlson and Wise Guy, who were second in those Swedish Pony Nationals a little earlier this year.
Slight mistake back into the final halt.
Well, they're now complete. Well, certainly an exciting pony to watch. This owner-rider combination. Wise Guy with Major Carlson in the saddle. Well, as we wait for the score to come up, for the second of the Swedish combinations to come forward, we'll shortly be joined by the second of the French combinations. As Spencer said, we're now into the second rotation of team members, and it will be the turn of the Bay Stallion, Swinbarad and Lou Morali. Well, now the score is here for Wise Guy and Major Carlson for Sweden. Score of 68.857, slotting them into 5th place. And those scores ranging from E66 through to 69. Well, interesting that from one end of the judge board to the other, the lowest to the highest score, percentage score, and but 68.857% it is, the provisional score, putting him into 5th place. Major Carlton and Wise Guy for Sweden.
Yeah, that score of 72.857 from our judge at M, certainly different from the judge at H, 66%, ranging from 9th to 3rd. So a bit of a discrepancy there in the scores. We now go back to France, and the French team, they've got a good team here. Our first to go for France was Alexandre Charret and Butterfly Dewdrop, 67.971. And it's great to have the French team here. They've been a strong team in the past and certainly have a good team here. And as Beck said, they often send out the... It's a difficult one to say. They're less strong riders. I was going to say weak, but they're not weak. This is the European Championships, but they're not so good horses, ponies out today, with the stronger combinations coming tomorrow.
Absolutely, it does tend to go like that, but it can also be done on experience. So sometimes if you have a rider that's perhaps their first Europeans, you would usually send them out on the first day because then they perhaps don't have the pressure. Equally, the Germans have actually elected to send their rookie out tomorrow, so that's an interesting team decision. This is where the infrastructure and the team behind them that really know the riders come in and they make that decision for the betterment of the team score.
And also, you know, you've got heads on shoulders. They're all different. They all react differently. So, you know, one might be cooler.
Yes, absolutely.
For France, the second combination to come forward for France, Lumerali riding Swin Barad. Well, a very interesting French-bred stallion, Swin Barad. 12 years of age. He actually show jumps internationally as well, winner of the meter 25 at Le Mans earlier this year.
It's very interesting, intersection of disciplines there.
It is, and you know, the ponies show jumping for the Europeans, they jump up to 1.34 m. I mean, enormous fences.
Yeah, but I suppose in the basic requirement of the pony is it's a powerful hind quarter for both sports, so that's what you need, and I think you can really see that in the trot here.
Well, certainly on the dressage side, a combination that also experienced success at Le Mans, 7th individually in the recent early February competition.
I'm just wondering whether or not Lou rides this stallion show jumping as well as dressage.
I would have a great deal of respect for her if she does. I certainly couldn't see myself coming into things of that height. So, but again, that probably gives her an edge if she does in the dressage, that bravery and that really pushing and taking risks. So, which you can see there in the walk perrette, she rode that nice and small, actually.
She could be another Mikhail Young, who rides a number of his horses at Grand Prix level in dressage, also rides them at Grand Prix level show jumping, and then takes them eventing.
Yeah, unfortunately, she just lost that that collection a little more in that second pirouette, which can be quite hard because you sort of move from the first pirouette and want to get the activity back in the walk, and then it was slightly at the expense of the size of that second pirouette.
I'm amazed as well, just looking to the outside of the arena, because the wind has really got up here at Bishop Burton. We're in the east of Yorkshire for the Pony European Championships 2018, and the flowers, we mentioned the flowers, they are feathery by build, and they're making a lot of movement around the arena. We usually see the good old-fashioned box plant around the arena on the markers. They're taking no real notice of them, though, are they?
No, and actually, that was interesting there, what I said about that transition earlier. The pony was more focused on the fact he was convinced that was a walk to canter than the flower next to him, and he did indeed make a mistake, so unfortunately that will really pull what was looking to be quite a good running score down. But that's where tension can muddle with things, and also anticipation. These ponies know this test inside out.
Yeah, they've dropped down from 69 to 66% all of a sudden, just through that mistake. But that was creeping in towards the end of the walk. He was thinking very much in advance of what was coming up.
Swin Barad by Cyril Nathan out of Hoylog Sensation.
That's a very athletic trot, a little bit hurried. You saw that the extended trot, the entire body is supposed to lengthen, so the top of his body didn't really. He was still a little tight in the neck, but you saw the potential that that pony has in his sort of reach, in his stride. So I think perhaps this combination, he just looks a little bit jolly today, and maybe with a bit more relaxation could be very impressive.
I think, you know, absolutely. I'm just watching him in the extended trot there. He, instead of covering the ground, has quite a high knee action in a lot of his movements, which to the eye looks a little bit tense.
Yeah.
It probably feels a little bit tense today underneath her. But rather than covering the ground, opening up the shoulder and allowing the... I think it's just his natural way of going. You know, he does come off the floor, but in a very back and up way.
Yes, yeah, which you can see in his ability to sit in these transitions. He is very sort of malleable in that manner, but I think, unfortunately, tension is marring quite a lot of these movements now. He, interestingly, didn't appear that tense going around the outside.
No, and
So
she was brave in the given retake, because she could have just held on to the rein and said, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to. She gave the rein and he stayed there.
Yes.
Very brave, very obvious with that.
So that's really good to see these riders taking that risk, and then hopefully she's rewarded in the marks for that, because it was certainly better than it would have been had she just held on. So that's good to see.
Settled in his simple change. It's a difficult, I would say, a difficult movement for her to ride because of his ability to be able to sit. It's a funny one to ride because he sits and doesn't always show her the door to when he's going to do the transition.
No.
It's almost that he sits for too long and she doesn't know when he's going to just drop into that walk. It doesn't, from the eye looking onto it, he's, because of his tension, not suggesting to her enough.
No, and you can also get that the tension generates a bit of a false energy, so I think she's done
And
a very
again,
good job here.
Again.
Yeah, he was almost rearing.
He
He's
was,
so
wasn't he?
sitting.
And this is what you could just see in those simple changes, is that he had the ability to do that. It was like, come back, come back, come back. When am I going to, when are you going to, oh,
Yeah.
you've done it.
Yep.
So the stallion Swinbarad, owned by Mademoiselle Rosemay Harang, completes his test with Lou Morali in the saddle as we await for the score for the second of the French combinations.
Well, still out in front, it is Jana Lang, NK Cyril, the lovely little Palomino for Germany, 74.514.
Well, that score is now in for Lou Morali and Swinbarad, and it is a score of 67.771, a provisional percentage score, 67.771, putting them into ninth place, with scores ranging from 66.714 at B through to 69.143 at H. So ninth spot it is for the second of the French combinations.
Well, back to Palominos, and it is now for Denmark, Maya Emily Leth and Gold Fever Hella Bella.
Interestingly, when I came in 2010 to watch this, the Germans had an entirely Palomino team. And it used to be very much the fashion for these ponies. I think they're from, I don't know too much about the breeding, but a line, I think it's Dancer, that a pony with this dilute colouring was obviously very good and has been used for a lot of the breeding and ends up with these amazing Palominos.
I've got a friend that's watching at home and she loves her Palominos. And I have to say, it's great to see. And I was at that international just a few weeks ago, and it's really nice that Vicky Thompson-Winfield she rides a horse called The Artist, and he's Palomino, and it's great to see the bigger horses also at the top of the sport as well. She was contesting the Grand Prix.
Marja Emily Leth for Denmark with Gold Fever Hella Bella. Forwards to halt, having cantered down the centre line. Forwards to trot to start their test.
We talked about that entry. You know, you've got to come round the corner. There's not much room at A, but you've got to come around that bottom end of the arena, down the centre line, not with your head down in your chest, but all, look at me, I'm here, and I'm here to prove a job, and you've got to be brave in that first movement.
Yes, straight away. It's no point sort of getting into your test halfway through. You've really got to be punching from the moment go, and I think actually that is what the Germans and the Dutch have always got so right. They have this sort of almost audacious like impression when they first come in, and they sort of dare the judges not to give them the marks. And I think these riders, they should have that confidence. They've earned it. They're here. They're representing their country. So it's really good to see it when they do come down with that impression.
You've got to have that. If you want those 10s, if you want to be European champion, you have to go in there and you say with the, with that audacity to say, how dare you not give me a 10 for that entry? It was, you've got to do that, and not only then, but then on your move off, then in everything that you do and the work that you execute throughout the test. Yeah,
absolutely. And the judges want to give you these marks. I think sometimes there's this misconception that the judges are sort of, oh, they were really mean to me today. And they don't. They judge to give the marks. They want to reward good riding and good training.
Well, the scale of judging, and now we've got the half marks as well, that we're able to give the 0.5s away. They do want to give those marks away. They're not there to sit on the 6s and the 5s. Some do. Obviously, we know that. We're not going to sit here and pretend that judges don't sometimes sit on the 6s and 7s. They do want to give the marks away, but the good work is rewarded, and that's when it's good judging. Is they see good work, they give the good marks. It's when you see some of the judging that sit there, don't move, don't move, don't move. And what I love is if a pony or a horse makes a mistake, they get the 3s and 4s and 5s. But then the next movement, as we've talked about, where is my next 10 coming from, is rewarded. So they go from the 3, 4, 5 back up to the 8, 9.
Yes, and then you get your test sheet and you know exactly what you need to work on. I appreciate it's hard for these judges though, because sometimes I'm sure I've given them a test at some point where you come down and actually all you deserve is a 6 or a 7. But it's really good to see at this level of competition that actually there is that scope to be giving the 3s and the 2s, I think, even sometimes for the really spooky things, and also these 9s, I would hope.
The 10-year-old Gold Fever Helabella scored 73.334% in Ugelhan earlier this year, third in that competition, but the first year of competing internationally for this combination from Denmark.
Well, currently sitting around 70.85. I would say the judges like Palominos, but it's not the judges like Palominos. The judges are liking good tests.
The judges are liking an active pony that's working through to the bridle and actually does have that natural ability to boot. So I think she's doing a very neat and tidy test so far. The Danish have been a real sort of, not a newcomer, but a real newcomer to the top level in the last few years in ponies. They are very impressive. They were always good, but now they're getting really good, and I think also at the Grand Prix level too.
They are, yeah, certainly at Grand Prix level. I've been commentating on the World Cup series, and there's certainly the Danes are coming up through, and they're stamping their authority. They were beating the likes of Isabel Vert now, and the European Championships a couple of years ago, last year, were certainly one that the Danes shot into prominence. Given retake then wasn't as good as I would have liked.
No, I think she could have broken the contact a little bit more clearly. I think these ponies at this level should really be working in such a good self-carriage that you could be riding them with no contact for a few strides and nothing happens. Some of these riders obviously know their pony's weaknesses, some might dive on the forehand, so it is damage limitation, but at the end of the day she won't be rewarded as highly as she might have been had she really gone for it.
No, now coming towards the end of her test, about to come down the centre line and land for the final halt. She needs to be brave. Watching some of these tests, and you have the medium extended canters to finish some of these tests, and I always say, right, you've got nothing left to lose. No. Throw it away.
No, well, this one's collected canter to halt, but the individual test certainly, I think, is extended trot to halt, so that really is that example of going for it at the last minute.
And as they counter halt to complete their test, Gold Fever Helabella looking very much within herself, this mare, with Marja Emily Leth in the plate. So that is the second of our Danish combinations to come forward and complete their test in this dressage team competition. The second of the 3 sessions of dressage well underway now with Marja Emily Leth and Gulfever Hella Bella completing their test. And a score now for Marja Emily Leth for Denmark, score of 71.714. Well, we were saying that the Palominos certainly putting in some really strong performances, and that score puts them into second place, 71.714% into second place for Marja Emily Leth for Denmark.
Yeah, interesting. Again, the discrepancy between 4 of the judges and 1 of the judges. One judge had them down in 5th place, but majority agreeing on the 2nd. So we go back to Ireland, and Ireland with their second rider.
Their second rider, and it is Blockland's Hooves Amour, ridden by Finn Curran. Finn Curran bringing forward this chestnut mare, by Orchard Boginoff, by out of Lunsveld's Lord.
I think this is good to see, actually, a boy riding at this level at the Dressage Europeans. It's interesting, there are so many amazing male riders at the very top of dressage, but I think at dressage at pony level, certainly, it's definitely something there's quite an imbalance.
There's definitely an imbalance. We've got a handful of male riders here at the Pony European Championships 2018, and it's great to have them here. Great to see them as well, because they are a little bit like hen's teeth.
Yes, yeah.
So for Ireland, Finn Curran and Blockland's Hooves Amour.
Real look of concentration.
Yep.
I think we'll say that was concentration. It was a little bit like we watched the pony earlier, the tongue sticking out.
I know. Well, whatever face makes it work.
Absolutely.
That's what I say, having seen my photos of things. So.
Took it a little bit of time to get into that extended. Wouldn't be the biggest moving pony, but again, we talked about that earlier on in the first session. They don't have to be the biggest moving pony, they just have to now be as accurate. So not throwing marks away. You ride marker to marker to marker, and you do not throw a single mark away.
So there he was very good, stayed right on the track in that shoulder in, where there was actually a Norwegian pony earlier that did a bit of a wander into the arena, so making sure that you stay along that line is very important.
Well, another combination who are having their first year competing internationally. Top 20 placing at Diepenbeek earlier this year for Finn Curran and Blockland's Hooves Amour. This 13-year-old owned by N. van de Burton. 15 years old, Finn Curran for Ireland. And that concentrated face continues to be very evident.
Got to concentrate for those walk pirouettes.
Yeah, definitely. Especially for a male to be doing that as well. Walking around a circle, a tight circle, using legs, using arms, using hands, using brain. There's a lot of multitasking. We're now into this extended walk.
So there the pony actually had a nose a little bit more in front of the vertical than the previous rider, which is better, but then lost the stretching downwards. So with one hand he's gained a mark and then unfortunately lost it with another aspect. So we'll probably be on a similar mark. So the shoulder in on 3 tracks, as it should be. I think it's very easy to go for too much angle, which is sort of just as bad as too little when you get into the Europeans and you're really keen to show off your shoulder in. But that was sort of just about right. Just could have been a little bit more consistent in the throughness in that and the rhythm of the trot. The trot shouldn't change in these movements.
A bit like us, you know, we're one-sided. We work one way better than the other, right-handed, left-handed. Certainly horses and ponies work in pretty much the same way. And for his first shoulder in, I thought there was a little bit more suppleness, especially through the rib cage, than his second.
Yeah.
He finds that difficult. That would certainly be one of his Achilles' heels, the medium and extended trots.
Yeah, some of them come back better and find it easier than stretching out and going forward. So that was actually very well executed. Not quite square in halt, but one of the better reinbacks, one of the straighter reinbacks.
Just lost his quarters on that last step and had to re-correct.
What's quite interesting, this pony, in her general work, his general work, just always looking a little bit like it sort of wants to poke his nose a bit. It doesn't look completely secure in the connection and the contact. So what we've seen with the German pony, who was rewarded accordingly, is she always had her hands right up and really secure in the head and neck. Whereas I think Finn here is having to do a little bit more work there, as you saw it there, with his hands, just to keep this pony soft and round.
Yeah, very evident what you were just saying there, Rebecca, that last movement.
And I'm sure we'll see it again in the simple changes that are about to come. Keeping him secure in the rein, it's going to be the upwards that he's going to jump out of more than anything.
Yeah, and that's why they put these transitions in. They're hard. They highlight any little flaws you might have, which is why it's a pony FEI test and a European Championship test. Yeah, so that was just a little bit.
Actually, better in the upward transition than before. I was watching, I don't know what you thought, you can be critical now, Valido Sunshine, when she did her transition there, I thought she could have been braver in her medium trot. I don't know what it looked like in real life. The camera angle here might not be the best that we're seeing it from, but there could have been more of a difference.
In the final medium canter, yes, I think there could have been. It's also, I mean, I get the benefit of knowing Sunny very well. Sunny is quite fond of sticking her backside into the arena at the back with transition of that. So Izzy was a little conservative, but then probably picked up the marks for a very good simple change. So maybe that's an area that for Izzy's got more years in ponies that they can work on and get even higher. Well,
in his first European Championships, Finn will be absolutely delighted with that, as will Connections. And it wasn't mistake-free, but you know. Great to see the boys here, great to see them here at the European Championships, and I'm sure they will learn a lot from that. No, it's not all over yet. Of course, we've got the top 15 going through to the freestyle, then the consolation test as well. We believe that consolation test, though things are always changing here at Bishop Burton. We're hoping that that is the case. Those that don't get forward into the top 15 will ride off again in their own test.
Yes, I think that was the same in 2010, so hopefully that's the case.
So everybody getting a chance to come forward for a second time into this dressage arena. So it is 14th place for Finn Curran and Blocklands Hooves Amour for Ireland. Score of 63.314%. 63.314%.
Well, if there's anything to go by in any sport, whether it be swimming, equestrianism, athletics, there's always somebody at the top and there's always somebody at the bottom, and unfortunately at the moment Finn Curran is at the bottom of that leaderboard. Well, now with 3 left to go in this second part of the dressage team competition.
It is for the Netherlands, Fleur Prinsen and Next Black Magic. This black gelding by Nabucco R, owned by Prinsen Wallet, brought forward for the Netherlands by Fleur Prinsen. Just trotting around the outside. This Westphalian black gelding. And as Spencer was saying, 3 to start their test, including Fleur Prinsen. Here they come. Down the centre line at the canter. Fleur's eyes ahead at the marker C. Salutes to the judge. Fleur Prinsen for the Netherlands with Next Black Magic.
So straight away, very impressive looking pony. Unfortunately, just a little bit crooked out of that first halt, which will perhaps remark that could have been a bit higher. But look, I mean, you can see the swing through the tail and the activity through the back.
And you can see the orange.
Yes, you can always see the orange. I mean, she's got along the top of her boots as well, which is where it's nice actually for this age group that the FEI rules are actually less conservative than I think our national BD rules, so you can sort of add these little extra flares. I think the line might be drawn at an entirely orange jacket in dressage. Certainly they do it in show jumping.
Certainly do.
It's nice to see, yeah, them doing a little bit of personalisation too.
I'm sure it won't be long.
No, I don't think it will.
We're trying to move with the times. Grandad sat here, but we're trying to move with the times. I'm sure, and we see variations in dressage now. Certainly Carl Hester ridden in grey, and we've seen a number of nations riding with more and more and more colour. The flying changes, I think, make these jackets with the cuffs and the detail on the cuff.
Yeah, they're very personalisable.
And I don't think it will be. I don't think it'll be long.
Interestingly, she's also wearing a stock, which I have seen these stocks when they were designed. I saw a photo of them, and they are lovely. They're half Dutch flag, half Great Britain flag, so they've been made for this Dutch team to travel to the UK with. As sort of a bit of a lucky token, little detail that they're all wearing together, which I think is nice.
Yeah, very much the team touch, and of course going back to last night and that opening ceremony, some of the outfits, uniforms, brilliant.
Yes, yeah, all about that unity.
And a lot of thought and effort being put into the attire for these championships.
And one thing we're very much looking forward to as well during these European Championships, and something that doesn't happen at senior Europeans or World Equestrian Games or Olympics, is that every year ponies, juniors, young riders have their European Championships, is the talent night.
Yes. Well, I think it's, as we've said earlier, it's important to have the funny alongside the serious. And I certainly remember, I can't remember mine from ponies actually, but my junior Europeans in 2016, we had cutouts, I think, of the faces of the royal family, probably terribly disrespectful, and then did a karaoke. So yeah, that's another part of the team building and development. So a lot of fun.
It's great. Everybody gets together, everybody joins in, and it's a huge part of, there is this serious part of competition, but there is also light-hearted fun in the evenings, and it's great. The camaraderie amongst competitors, amongst parents, amongst trainers, they all get together and chat and spend time with each other. And a number of competitors, because it is Bishop Burton, it is the college, number of competitors and grooms and owners, connections, all staying on site. So it's a real family community here.
Yeah, and I think it's lovely because, yes, these nations are all competing against each other, and I mean, don't mistake that they are competitive even at this level. They absolutely want those medals, but everyone here, all the professionals behind these riders, are developing riders for the future, and they all have that common goal. So I think that's quite unique about the Pony Europeans.
Well, such a nice test so far for next Black Magic.
Yes, and a couple of good wins for this combination over the last couple of years. In April this year, they were the pony individual consolation winners at New Saint-Josland, and then in 2017 they won the individual pony championship at Diekenbeek, and that was on their on this combination's first international appearance. So certainly hit the road running on their first appearance, Fleur Pinson and Next Black Magic.
Yeah, they look like a very assured combination. There's actually a very good degree of harmony between these two. I'm sort of quite struck by it in this test that even though there have been a couple of little wobbles that could have been a little bit better perhaps, they're maintaining that bond between pony and rider, which is always lovely to see. It doesn't look like a bit of a battle to get him to do it. He looks like he's doing it because he's trained well and because he wants to do it for his rider. So that's a very nice picture.
Yeah, the empathy between the two. We've talked about teams, and certainly the team effort between horse and rider, the most important one. Two minds thinking, hopefully thinking the same thing, but of course that is the art, working as a team.
Yeah, and as we've seen, some of the ponies haven't been the most cooperative, which is always hard, but we can't control that. They are, at the end of the day, they're an independent animal, so it's nice to see this one working so well for his jockey.
Working extremely well. Down the centre line to halt. Huge praise for Next Black Magic from Fleur Pinson as they complete their test. And the support not letting up one iota from any of these teams, and super applause and cheers there from the team from the Netherlands.
Yeah, they're a rowdy bunch, aren't they?
No, they are a bit. No, they've always, whenever I've been, they've been great fun.
Well, that score has come up now for Fleur Princeton and Next Black Magic. Total percentage score of 71.314, putting them into third place. Well, you thought it was a good test, Rebecca. Horse and rider in unison, and 71.314% puts them into third place at the moment.
Well,
Yeah,
the Netherlands in third and fourth.
Yeah,
now.
and that's exactly what you want as a sort of looking from the progression of the team. The fourth member put a strong score, this member has bettered it, and then you would hope that the two members tomorrow go even better, although that is a very strong basis for their team. So if they do go even better, they'll be definitely in the mix for a medal.
So we move on to the penultimate combination to come forward in this second session of Team Dressage on the first day of the FEI European Pony Championships here at Bishop Burton. And it is for Poland, Sophia Baron with the bay gelding Summersby, owned by Noches Baran. And they come forward as the second combination for Poland in this second rotation of team members.
Well, just two left to go, as you said, Nick. Summersby and Sophia Baron for Poland. Still the leading score for Germany. Jana Lang and NK Cyril, 74.514. The top six all breaking that 70% barrier. Great to see so many scores in the 70s.
The 70 is always what you're going for. And it's very hard to achieve. Whilst it sounds sort of, in a non-dressage term, 70% doesn't sound that high, but it is a consistency that is hard to get. It's 7 or higher for every single movement in that test, or sort of, if you make a mistake, you're going to have to make up for it with some really high marks.
Summersby and Sophia Baron. Well, they were third at the Okabe Wiggle Freestyle in July this year, as they come down the centre line. For Poland, Sophia Baron and Summersby. And the combination as they move forward into trot, who competed at last year's Pony Europeans. And here they are again in 2018. And great to see combinations coming back for that second shot.
Hopefully also, if she's had that experience at the previous Europeans, that gives her a little bit of an advantage, because she's been here before, she knows the atmosphere, so hopefully you can take that forward into her test.
And sometimes work in your detriment as well. I think
Well,
your first
yes.
Europeans is a slight blur. And your second Europeans, you have slightly more expectations and slightly more know-how about what goes on, what's entailed and what's about to happen.
Definitely, and I think that's where it's sometimes easier if you're at your second European. So I was very lucky, I was still the first rider to go in the team. So I had slightly less pressure. It was a very early morning, I didn't have many people watching, whereas actually on this lovely day, this dry, warm day at Bishop Burton, she's got quite a crowd. So you can see already on that quite nice close-up her getting her pony round the inside leg ready for this pirouette. So the preparation is all about these difficult movements. They just don't come off if you don't prepare for them. So that's good to see her getting that ready a few strides before.
Yeah, 16 years old, Sophia Baron. So we were saying it's her second Europeans. Well, she'll have had, in terms of years, the maximum experience available and possible at the pony level. On Summersby, who is 15 years old himself, so equally a pony also having plenty of experience at this international level.
Yeah, an accomplished combination then in terms of experience and years. So this will be her last championship if she's 16, so I hope that she can go out and do the test that she wants to do. So it looks to be going quite well so far. I think that actual running score has just had a big drop, so I don't know if that was a mark. It didn't look to be a mark that would have brought it down that far, or perhaps Yeah, that was quite bizarre. It was on 68 before the walk, so I don't know. I may have missed something.
A little strange.
Yeah, there we go. It's back up to 67.8. So I think that's more what she was deserving. I'd think if it was 61, I'd have been quite disgruntled on her behalf, actually.
And of course, it's interesting, Rebecca, you've been very successful in dressage at the pony level and successfully competing now. You went through juniors and into young riders. And of course, particularly I think with the pressures now on young people, it is harder and harder out there. The examination system is harder and harder. There's an awful lot of competition for jobs. Of course, some of these riders will definitely be aspiring to be the next and will be the next championship riders and champions at in the different disciplines. But of course, maybe for some of them, they'll be looking, particularly when they get to the age of 16 at the end of ponies, looking towards other things and maybe concentrating on A-levels or whatever the equivalent is in other countries and university. And it becomes very difficult, doesn't it?
It does. It is hard to juggle it. Some, it is their dream to keep going with it, and that's amazing. Some want to go into horses full time, and some do it very successfully, as has been proven by our British team members who did the Pony Europeans sort of earlier in the 2000s. But equally, if it is their last sort of bite at the apple with riding, and they perhaps don't move on from ponies, what an amazing experience to have in their youth. And I think that's what's so nice about this, that we are developing future riders, but if this becomes their pinnacle of their career, then what a place to do it, and what a championship. So I think it's fantastic that the FEI holds a championship of this calibre and this atmosphere at this age group.
Yep, hear to that, Rebecca.
So that was actually an example. She was very brave with that give and retake, and unfortunately the pony didn't quite reward her with a stable head.
Just went, thanks very
much. She was like, thank you for the reins. I'm going to do what I want now. So she's got to then collect herself and think, okay, I've got some very expensively marked. These are double marked, so I better make sure these are good.
What I've loved throughout this dressage, just see her sat down by the gate at the end of the arena by A. And we'll see her, I expect, many times over the course of the 5 days of competition here at Bishop Burton for the FEI European Championships for ponies. Jenny Lauriston-Clark watching on. Jenny, who rode in no fewer than 4 Olympic Games, and of course prolific with the wonderful Dutch Gold. She's just there, sat on her chair, watching all of these ponies, and it's great to have her here. She really is an icon of the sport.
No, fantastic. I've been judged by her several times, and she really is one of those judges that will give you your 9s and will give you your 3s. So I've been always a pleasure to be judged by her.
She's just finishing her test in the championship arena. Sophia Baron and Summersby for Poland. Great test there for her. I actually think that will just about stick around the late 60s, may shoot to the 70s, depending on the last few marks. But it was a solid performance from the Polish girl. Yeah,
she executed everything sort of fairly well. She had a couple of little blips. There was nothing major in the training. So if you think that's going to sit her on sort of between a 6.5 and a 7, it will probably be one of those tests, with that being the majority of the marks. That will be a solid first score for her for start her campaign this week.
And that score for Sophia Baron and Summersby, I'm sure, will be with us very shortly as our final combination come forward in this second session of Team Dressage this morning. And it is for Norway, Dina Urgaard Martisen and Burkhovs Ricardo. Well, here is the score for Sophia Baron and Summersby. A score of 66.629%, slotting them into 12th place, 66.629%. Those scores ranging from 65.714 at B through to the highest score given by our judges, which is 67 to 67.571s, both of those at M and at A. So, our final combination forwards for Norway in this second session of dressage. They are the 18th competitor to come forward. They have number 43 in the programme. It is Birkenhoff's Ricardo and Dina Udgaard Martensen. This bay gelding by Morganland's Fabian out of Wester Akeham's Edios. For Norway, halting in front of that judge at sea, Dina Udgaard Martensen for Norway with Birkenhoff's Ricardo.
Well, it was interesting, very interesting watching her work this pony around the arena, up and down the gears, and just looking a little bit tense around the arena.
Yes, I think this pony didn't look entirely happy in this environment. It is a big pressured environment and some of them take it better than others. I think where it's translating here is he's a little bit jolly in his mouth, sort of opening his mouth and chomping on the bit quite a lot. And that does make for quite a difficult ride for her because she's really trying to connect him from the hind leg to the contact, so I hope that he might settle for her a little better.
Yeah, we've watched a number of ponies dropping off the leg, but he seems to have dropped her off the bit and dropped her off the bridle, and it's even more difficult to ride forward when they won't take the bridle.
Yeah, very, very difficult. So I think she's actually doing a fair job at the moment now of executing the movements, but unfortunately that probably will be quite expensive because he's not actually connected through to the hand as he perhaps might be when he settles a little bit later in the test.
Well, she'll be hoping that he does settle into the bridle. He looks, as you said, fidgety in the mouth and just playing with the bits. But she's still getting the marks out of him, still getting the movements out of him. Just been nice to see that connection a little bit more solid and to solidify that she needs to keep riding him forward, which is not always easy.
No, you have to be quite brave as well if you've got no contact to really try and create one, all whilst trying to ride all these movements at a European Championships for your team. So easy for us to all sit here and say about her connection, but yeah, I think that will be the main marking point at the moment in this test.
Birkenhoff's Ricardo, owned by Lina Udgaard, 14 years old, and so another pony with plenty of experience in terms of years. Third in the Nordic Baltic Championships. This combination of Nina Martinez and Birkenhoff's Ricardo. First team appearance.
Interestingly, you saw there her trying to sort of flick the rein a little bit away at him. I think that was quite clever. Try and get him out of his chest a little bit more. He is not making life easy for her, I don't think.
No, she's doing it in the trot work as well, just saying, come on, take the bridle, get up to the bridle. And he's just saying, well, do you know what, I think I look really pretty.
Yep, I'd just like to hide down here, thank you. No, I think she's doing a good job. She's keeping the trot moving quite forward. Perhaps a little bit losing the collection, but actually under these circumstances that's what she needs to do.
I would say a masterful bit of riding so far from this young lady in the arena, and it's about arena test riding and riding in the boards and being as you say, brave, because it's very easy just to sit there thinking you're sat on a, you know, like feeling like you're sat on a hot tin roof, but actually being brave, putting your leg on, doing all of the things opposite that you want to do, in getting some sort of result. She's keeping the percentage score up though, which is great to see.
She is, because she's executing everything accurately. You noticed in that halt she corrected the halt, wasn't quite square when it first halted, but she made it happen. So I think she's actually being very clever. She's picking up marks where she can, and I think now kind of saying to him, go on, okay, well you do your own thing. I think if you fuss you too much you're going to perhaps get a little worse. So she's just focusing on the engine. She's leaving the front end a little bit more alone.
That comes from experience, and I would say, as the expression goes, this isn't their first rodeo. I don't think this is the first time he's dropped her like this either. I think she does know how to ride him when he does it.
She does look quite, poor girl, quite accomplished at dealing with it. But actually that was a very, very nice, simple change. What's annoying about this combination to watch is if you sort of chop the picture and watch the legs and his back, you actually look very, very accomplished. It's very accurate. He sits nicely into those downward transitions. It's just this contact is just drawing my eye.
But do you not also think that if, you know, you sometimes watch a horse in a test and they have a unique way of moving a leg, or they're slightly stiffer on one hind leg, you fixate on that, and your eye is drawn to it.
Absolutely.
We immediately picked up on the contact, so we've kind of been looking at that. But if we divert our eyes to, like you say, cut off and go on different parts, then it works. But it's the overall picture is what we're looking at, is what we're seeing, and unfortunately that can't be taken away.
No, it can't at all, which is why at the moment she's sitting at a 68, which is basically an accomplished test. Absolutely no mistakes with sort of executing things well, but looking at it, it could well have been a 70, I think, if maybe this mouth could have been a little bit quieter, which is a shame, but that might be where this pony is at in his training. I think he's an older pony, so it's hard to change the way they go sometimes if that's their habit, but I think she's done a very impressive job.
Yes, Dina Udgard Martinsen working very hard and making it look a lot easier than it was, as Bergenhoff's Ricardo with Dina Udgard Martinsen complete their test for Norway, and they are the final combination to come forward in this second phase of dressage this morning. Well, with our final combination in this second phase of dressage now leaving the arena, we just await the score to pop up for our combination from Norway.
Just that final score to come in for the last to go.
You'll see as she's heading out, she's just being checked by the steward.
Well, that score now in for Dina Udgard Martinsen and Berkenhoff's Ricardo, and it is a score of 68.486%. 68.486%.
Well, down at the dressage, we now hand you over to our very own Lizzie Greenwood-Hughes. She's caught up with the chef de keep of the British team, Caroline Bell.
Yeah, thanks very much. I've luckily just grabbed her for a couple of moments because you're a very busy lady, Caroline. But I love the fact that you came here in 2010 with Rebecca as a child, and here you are 8 years later in charge of the team, and Rebecca's commentating and won a load of medals.
I know, it's amazing actually. It seems so long ago, but I always remember her badgering me to come and watch, and look where it's got us. Both of us have now become very very firmly entrenched in the sport. She continues as a young rider, and I've now been chef de keep for the pony dressage team for the last 3 years.
And she's doing a wonderful job of commentary as well. But this is the real deal, isn't it? I mean, this is their Olympic Games. They might be small, but they're really good.
Oh yes, don't underestimate them. They are very, very confident athletes. This, as you say, is their Olympics. There isn't anywhere higher for them to go on these ponies, and they come here as real professionals. Yeah.
You've only had Izzy go so far, currently in the team in 5th, but obviously that doesn't really mean much because we've only had one ride. But just talk us about the team and how you're feeling about these championships.
Well, we've got a team that actually through them they've got quite a lot of experience. Izzy is not a rookie. She came with us out to Denmark 2 years ago. First time for her though on Valido Sunshine, who is obviously quite an experienced pony. Couldn't be more proud of how she's gone. She's really given us a good base to start from, so absolutely thrilled. We've got Megan, of course, coming up after the break on another of the Valido ponies.
Which actually I'm going to interrupt because I know that Rebecca's already talked about this, but not only has this lady, Caroline, bred a very good rider, but you produced both of those ponies, you and Rebecca, didn't you?
Well, I didn't, but Becca did, yes. She's put a lot of the hard work in, but actually it's lovely to see them with really cracking riders that they can now, to have them both on this team this year, it's just such a thrill.
And then the rest of the team, which obviously come tomorrow?
Annabella Pidgley, she's the new member of our very exclusive club, because you have to realise that this is their pinnacle, so we have very few who get to this level. So it was fantastic last night to give her jacket with the red collar and the GB badge. So she's new. Innie is quite an experienced pony. We're hoping for a good test from her. And then our anchor girl, Sophie Taylor, on a relatively young pony that she's produced, George Clooney, very gorgeous.
Good name.
Yes, yeah, but if anybody's got nerves of steel, no pressure, Soph, sorry, but I know she'll bring the team home, so really looking forward to the next 3 riders.
The chef de keep of the pony team presumably is a very different role to the chef de keep of a senior team, because you must sort of be like their mum for this tournament, aren't you, this competition?
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously you have to remember they are actually young people, so rather than just organising and so forth, you've actually got to think about them and the pressures that they feel and put on themselves. So yeah, it's a bit of being a bit of everything, and also you've got the families around as well. So it's yeah, I love it. Great job.
And a few hormones with all the teenagers, I'd imagine
No
too.
comment.
Just finally, it was bronze last year in your second year of Chef de Keep, is that right?
Yes.
So upward trajectory, we're thinking silver. How are you feeling about that?
Anything is possible. Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously it is down to the girls and the tests they ride. We've got strong competition this year. The Germans, as ever, are very strong. They are perfectionists, attention to detail. But the Danish and the Dutch teams are strong too. So let's just fingers crossed and hope we can bring it home.
Okay, well, thanks very much. You go and get Megan sorted for her test.
Thank
Thank you, Caroline. Well, best of luck to the British team. The action here then in the team dressage test at Bishop Burton will be along in a few more minutes, but we're just going to have a short break.
Well, welcome back to the FEI European Championships from Bishop Burton College. It's ponies and the third stage of the team test, and the leaderboard so far in the team competition: Jana Lang and NK Cyril, 74.514 for Germany. Marja Emily Aleth, Gold Fever Hellabella in second for Denmark, 71.714. Third, Flew Princeton, Next Black Magic for the Netherlands, 71.429. And in fourth, Tessa Gilbers, Bowman's Despino, 71.257. Great Britain thereabouts as well, currently in equal fifth as we welcome the next to go.
So as Nero Equitho get underway with Altanero, it is their first time competing outside Spain. A combination that have won and have multiple placings in Segovia, the big dressage, national Spanish dressage there earlier on this year. But certainly the first time competing out of Spain for the first combination to come forward for Spain.
Yeah, in this team competition, riding as an individual.
It's nice to see as she came across the top there, just give the pony a little pat, a little reassurance. If they are both quite inexperienced, that was nice for her to give him a little bit of confidence there. And as you can see, a little bit spooky there. He's not quite sure. Interestingly, I think it seems almost like their reflection in the judge at C's box might be doing it, because it was exactly at C that the pony was a little bit spooked. So
that was the same as Tara Glenn's pony earlier for
yes,
Ireland.
yeah, and it can be quite intimidating for them if they're trotting directly down the centre line and they can see themselves. So hopefully going past it, you'll see the rider being nice there, reassuring him, giving him a little pat, and he might be a little bit braver next time.
Yeah, this mare is certainly taking exception to whatever has been seen. You see, if it were a male, he'd be very pleased to see himself in the mirror.
Yeah, no, that's me. No, assuming he was a gelding, but no, the truth will out. It's just a little bit of tension there.
She's been brave in letting the rain go, though, hasn't she?
Yeah,
considering.
absolutely. But she's obviously decided, okay, well, I've had a little bit of a whoopsie down there, and we need to really go for it, get these marks now. So just you can see, interesting what you said about watching the ears earlier, his eye as well. He's just clocking the side of the arena there, just aware of what's going on.
Nero Uquidho, the first of 8 combinations to come forward in this third session of dressage. Of course, a second day of team dressage tomorrow. Further 3 sessions.
Looking a little bit more relaxed and assured in that half circle there. The bending obviously just helps her to just get the connection back a little bit better.
Yeah, he's
then we're
dropping
coming to
on
the
and
scary
off
bit.
of the contact. I was just about to say, dropping on and off
Yeah.
the contact in the second half of that circle. So that, I think, then is fairly indicative of what happened then in the next movement.
Yeah, he broadcasted a bit. That was a shame that he cantered, especially in the double marked half pass movement. But I thought she got it back quite quickly, and then she was quite careful. The thing is, the aid for the half pass and the canter are very similar, so that's quite a common mistake to make if the pony is quite tense.
Yeah, not only at this level, but even at Grand Prix level, you know, the top of the sport, the buttons, the aids to the half pass and the canter transitions, very, very close together indeed.
It's nice that she halted, took her time, took a sort of a bit of a breath before they made the rein back. Unfortunately, just that crookedness creeping in again, but the transition to canter was nice.
The 12-year-old Altanero, owned by Ana Esther Uquidho, by the stallion Gnidium.
So this is the movement that we've seen a few of them just dropping back from the crowd a little bit as they've come round. So it'd be interesting to see whether she just keeps this canter going. Yeah, again, a little early to walk. So it's fascinating that that's happened with so many of them. So she cantered almost as she came past A there, rather than situating the transition directly across. But very brave with her given retake, so that was well ridden.
And going up into that corner again.
Yeah, so this, she would, if I were riding, I'd have to have really, really to the outside, sitting over that leading leg to try and keep him in counter-canter, which is exactly what she's managed to do, so that was well ridden. Because that is the exact moment, as you said, going to that scary corner, that she could have had a little change.
So Nero doing a brilliant job outside, first time competing outside Spain.
It's a shame that there has been this tension that's just sort of marred the test slightly, because actually the basic gaits of the pony are very nice. Especially this cant you can see coming around on the turn. He has got quite a lot of natural elevation, which helps him with these simple changes, these double marks, where she'll hopefully pick up a few more marks. But again, it's just this tension in the contact and this unsteadiness in the head that just draws your eye a little bit.
Which is what we were saying about one of the earlier horses, of course, wasn't it? Where you're drawn to the front of the horse.
Yeah, interesting that the wind's picked up. I don't know whether that's just spooking them all a little bit.
So, saluting the judges, the first to come forward in this final session of Team Dressage today. Now, Galindez Acuerdo with Alterno. And we look forward to the first score to come up for this third and final session of Dressage today.
Yeah, I think she looked a little deflated there, because I'm sure for her first time outside of her home country, big expectations, so disappointing when it doesn't quite come off, but actually I think she should be pleased with the job that she did.
Just what I was thinking, Rebecca. Yeah, I'm sure there's an awful lot to be pleased about there.
Yeah.
So, being greeted there by members of the Spanish team. Now, Galindez Acuerdo. Well, the score now in for this combination from Spain, and it is a score of 63.314%, putting them into 17th place, 63.314%, and those scores ranging from 62.429 at H to a top percentage mark of 64 at E, resulting in that 63.314% for Nero, Galindez Acuerdo and Aterno. Well, now representing Hungary, we welcome into the arena Dano's Miracle KS. This Palomino gelding, ridden by Rita Laura Nagy for Hungary.
Interestingly, this pony used to compete for the Netherlands, I'm fairly sure, so he's one that has made the move, and good to see him back out again at the top level for a different nation. And another one of those Palominos.
Another one of those Palominos, and they're sitting in first and second at the moment. But this very similar to Gold Fever Hella Bella, currently sitting in second for Denmark with Marja Emilie Leth.
Yeah, very light frame. Whereas Cyril, the German pony that's currently leading, is sort of a little powerhouse of a pony. That's interesting. They all come in different shapes and sizes, but many of them are equally doing the job just as well as each other.
Yep, no rhyme or reason. So just waiting for the bell to go. The bell does go for the second to go in this third session.
Thirteen-year-old pony, gelding by Bodo out of Verona's Boji, and down the centre line they come. Forwards to the halt, Rita Laura Nagy for Hungary with Dano's Miracle KS.
So she had to work quite hard in that turn before coming down the centre line to make him just straight and connected to the bridle. I think she managed to get it in before the boards. So that's an example of getting that preparation in before you get into the arena and you're under the marks.
Yeah, slight mistake on the first centre line and also on the transition coming back from the medium trot to the working trot. Just losing a little bit of balance in those movements so far, showing good quality of work and executing the movements, but just losing 1 mark, half a mark, and again there you can just see she's riding him forward. I'm just wondering whether she's almost riding him out of balance at times.
Yep, I would totally agree. I think, and having been in this position, I can sympathise. She looks a little like she's come into the arena and said, this is the European Championships, I am going to go for it, and is slightly just pushing him out of his balance, which is an easy thing to do because you want to try your very best, but it just at the moment just looks a little bit unharmonious where he's just losing that step.
New combination for 2018, the 14-year-old Rita Nagy on the 13-year-old Dano's Miracle KS. But Rita certainly had good success on another pony, Fame. Rode to multiple international wins at Marathon and Saint Margarethen.
So again, we've got a little example of the pony, sort of a bit of a concentration phase with his tongue in those pirouettes. That looked, it was a bit more repeated than the previous occasion with that other pony, so it looked almost that might be the way that his tension is sort of working its way out. This is where the test does work quite to your advantage in that you have this walk early on. It's halfway through the trot rather than between the trot and the canter. So hopefully gives them both a chance just to take a deep breath and then continue with a little bit more confidence in the second half of the trot work.
Just anticipating that transition coming up. He was always going to do that, I think, offer the trot up to her before she asked for it. He seems to be just maybe half a step ahead.
Yeah.
But I think the way she came in and attacked this test, he's slightly on that. He's slightly living on the edge a little bit.
Yeah, which is where you have to live, but then you do have to keep that harmony, and I think that's where a little bit at the moment they both look a little bit frantic almost. There are moments where you see the potential, but then yeah, there too, they're just not quite on the same wavelength.
No, and that kick out to the leg, it's all. I mean, I don't want to put her down, but it's almost like, you know, she sort of niggled, and he just got to that point and he said, do you know, enough for a second.
Yeah, and it's hard. I think she's gone in there with the best of intentions. She's really trying to do her very best, but it's perhaps she's not riding it like another arena. She's riding it like, oh, it's the European Championships. I must try my hardest, and has slightly just put a little bit of tension into that combination.
Would have been nice to see the Holt immobilised a little bit longer.
I mean, you can see it in her face. She is very focused. She's really trying her hardest, but I think just needs to remember to work together with the pony a little bit more, because he's not overly confident, it doesn't seem either. So they could just both sort of hold each other's hand a little bit more. I think we'd be seeing a much improved picture. There's definitely the potential there.
It's always nice to hold hands, and you can just see now the tongue just in and out, in and out, in and out, just proving that tension is creeping through more and more and more.
Again, I mean, they're a new combination this year, so it does take a long time to get to know the pony well, and the pony get to know you well, and confidence comes from knowing each other inside out, and being one step ahead of the pony. So where he was one step ahead of her, that obviously put her on the back foot a bit. But yeah, and there's a time and a place to do this and learn this lesson. So she'll come out stronger from this. She'll maybe realise, oh, okay, I was just a little bit frazzled by the occasion. And then next time, hopefully, I don't know how many, but she's 14, so she's got more time in ponies. She'll be able to come out with a bit more assurance, a bit more confidence.
Yeah, and what's also good is that somebody will have videoed this, and there'll be a huge debrief, not only from the chef de keep trainers, also parents, and she'll go back and have a look at this video as well, and she'll see, you know, there's nothing more apparent than when it's evident and in front of you, just what you were doing when you were in the arena.
Yeah, video feedback is so helpful.
Yeah,
so
and, you know,
helpful.
we can come out and say, what went wrong? And then when you watch it, it's very obvious, but at the time you think you're going in there and doing the best. You know, I'm not saying she's done a bad job, because she certainly hasn't done a bad job, but I just think occasionally it's been kicked out of gear from what it could have, should have, possibly, you know, might have been, and the marks were just lower than they could have been.
Yeah, I think she's just. I would say she's overridden. She's tried too hard, which is no bad thing. We all want to do our very, very best, but on this occasion, I think it just worked against her a little bit, and it put the pony into a little bit of a tense outline.
Yeah.
So for Hungary, Rita Laura Nagy and Diana's Miracle Chaos complete their test, and they score already through for them, and it is 63.371%. 17th spot, 63.371%, and those scores ranging from 62.143 up to 64.714%. Resulting score 63.371.
Yeah, again, interesting. One of the judges had her last, and a couple of the judges had her sort of 16th, just up from the end of the leaderboard. The marks are varying as we've gone on, but what is nice to see is that the tests that we've seen, that we've watched, they've been given the marks that deserve the good work, and those that not necessarily have given us the picture and the requirements that are needed for dressage, and here at the Europeans, have gone down that leaderboard, and good work is resulted, good work is awarded. But what you must understand if you're listening to us at home is that we're not putting people down, we're not trying to say that anything is bad. This is Europeans, this is some of the best of the best of the best of this age group. But we're sat here trying to be constructive with our criticism, and also to try and let you guys know, as well as educate ourselves into what is going wrong, what we're seeing, so as hopefully you can see that as well.
Yeah, and like the combination we've just seen look like they have a great deal of potential, so I'd love for them to see them sort of learn from the experience and gain confidence from it, and then come out and really fulfill that. And that's, at the end of the day, fulfilling your potential with your ponies is everyone's goal, so hopefully yeah, she'll draw positives from it.
Down the centre line for Belgium, Marieke van Nespen with Orchids Borneo II. For Belgium, Marieke van Nespen.
Well, just as the Belgian combination get their test underway, it's time once again to say thank you very much to Rebecca Bell. Adios. You're off to watch now the second to go for Great Britain, Megan Barrett, and your second pony, Valido's Starlight. So good luck with that.
No, really looking forward to seeing these two. So yeah, excited and a bit nervous. I feel it's almost worse watching. I know what people felt when they watched me ride, because you can't do anything from the outside. But I know Megan will do the best that she can. So going to go and cheer them on, and I'll be back in a bit.
All right, thank you, Bex.
Thank you, Rebecca.
So as Rebecca goes off to watch the second of the team members for Great Britain, we're left with the Belgian rider. I'm sure Nick has some form on this pair.
Certainly do, Spencer. Well, 3 top 10 placings this year at Ludelang in July. Good form. First Europeans, as it is for so many of these combinations, competing internationally since 2016. And with those good top 10 placings earlier this year, looking to put in a good performance here at the Europeans. So the 15-year-old Marieke van Nespen on the 13-year-old Orchids Borneo II. 13-year-old owned by Peter Zan. A bay gelding by Justice HR out of Brumerhofsbos. And I found it very interesting, the very wide range of sires that we've seen here.
Yeah, I think, as we've talked about, pony breeding is very much in the forefront of everybody's minds now, and it's certainly one that is growing and growing and growing in depth with the Europeans now every year, with dressage, show jumping and eventing, and dressage, which is we've seen grow and grow and grow. We've talked about Laura Bechtelsteimer, Maria Alberg, to name but 2 really big names in the world of dressage that started their career at pony level back in 2000. 18 years later, they're representing Great Britain at not only senior level, but at World Equestrian Games, at European Championships, and at Olympic Games. And it's a real platform, and there's a lot of talent, a lot of money to be made in the world of ponies, and it's where our talent comes from. And it's great to get so many involved and to see them coming up through the grades. Also mentioned, you know, as Rebecca is as well, she's still competing in dressage, but she's studying an English literature degree at Oxford University. So you know, making the two fit and mould together is quite a task in itself. And we may see some of these riders as they turn 16, they turn into mature young people, actually follow another career path, whether it, you know, be with equine or non-equine. But it's a really hard industry to stay in. At the moment, they've got the support of mums and dads and grannies and granddads and everybody else. But then when you go on your own and you fly on your own, you spread your wings, it's a really difficult game to stay in and stay at the top of. Well, so far so good, and just saying just under 70%, 68.818 is the young lady from Belgium, Marek van Nespen. Lovely give and retake, just staying in a really nice balanced frame. This counter back to the simple change. Always watching that inside hind leg, making sure they stay balanced, sitting on the inside seat bone in the counter to avoid any chances of a change. Almost in essence blocking the inside hind from changing. A real look of concentration over this young lady's face. This is what it means to them. Great sense of atmosphere here. A lot of supporters here for the nations. 13 nations represented in this team test. Ooh. Not quite sure what happened there. I thought I saw something just off camera, but I don't think I did. Something crept in, but the wind has got up quite a bit here. The sun gone behind the clouds as she comes into land.
So finishing their test for Belgium, Orkis Bonnier the second and Marek van Nespen. Yeah, not just quite sure what happened towards the almost at the end of the test for the Belgian combination. Well, we'll shortly be joined by the next British pairing, and it will be Megan Barrett and Valido Starlight. This is Susan Barrett's Valido Starlight. But before we welcome them in, we do now have a score for Marek van Nespen and Orkis Bonnier the second, and it is a score of 69.086%, slotting them into 7th spot, and those scores ranging from 67.714 up to 69.8. My apologies, up to 70.571, 70.5751, the top percentage score for the judge at M.
Well, there, Clive Halsall, the dressage team trainer for the ponies. Interesting, Marek, when she was leaving the arena, kept looking over her right-hand shoulder just to see what was spooking her pony in the test. I couldn't see anything that was spooking or could have moved. Jenny Lawson-Clark, she still sat there watching every test. She's an avid follower of these ponies. And anyway, just going back to Marek, I couldn't see anything, but it's one of those things. Unfortunately, it was just the one spook. But she has gone into 7th place. Still the leaders, Jana Lang and NK Cyril on 74.514 for Germany. Germany, Denmark, Netherlands, Denmark, Great Britain are the top 6 so far. In equal 5th place is Great Britain and Denmark on 70.371.
So the combination that were part of the 2017 Euro British team, Megan Barrett and Valido Starlight, this 14-year-old by Valido, out of Capri Moon, just cantering around the outside. And our guest, Rebecca Bell, has now gone to watch this test by the side of the arena as Megan Barrett for Great Britain and Valido Starlight come down the centre line at canter.
Yeah, Megan, part of the bronze medal winning team in Capsavar last year. 2 members of that team are back here for the 2018 European Championships, and Valido Starlight, another one of Becca's ponies that was a great campaigner, very sadly sold. But what is nice is they've stayed in the camp, and Caroline and Rebecca, Caroline Bell, chef de keep of the ponies, so nice for her to keep an eye on these as they go from one family to the next and very much stay within the team of Great Britain, bringing back the medals. Bronze it was last year. It's a solid team this year. Very nice start to their test. And just always looking for those 2 half circles with the straightness in between, making sure they come off of the 1 circle, straight line, 2nd circle, from the shoulder in, now into the half pass. Not overly settled in his head carriage, looking nice and relaxed. But I'd just like to see him take the bridle a little bit more forward.
Well, a combination that have been together since 2016, and as we were saying earlier, how good it is that other young riders, or in this case pony riders, can have the chance of riding these super horses. And after Megan enjoyed success on the pony, it's now the turn of Megan to be competing. Well, they were second in the pony team and individual classes in Nieuw-on-Saint-Josland earlier this year. Another 2 have travelled there and done well. 16 years old, Megan Barrett, on the 14-year-old Valido Starlight.
Yes, in her last year of ponies. We're moving up to juniors very shortly. They've had some great success. And this has been a wonderful pony for Team GBR. Just saw Nikki Herbert there in the background. She is one of the judges for the eventing. That all kicks off tomorrow with the first half of the dressage. Very nice shoulder in, nice angle to that shoulder in on 3 tracks, half circle, looking for the straightness again on the centre line. Then the turn to the left, and as they hit the side of the arena, position into half pass and straight off into it. Very nicely ridden, very fluid.
Yes, super to watch.
Now into the extended trot. Nice and uphill, really engaged behind. Just maybe could have just had a little bit more bend in his hocks for the extension, just a little bit more push into the halt. Oh, very nearly perfectly square. Nicely in diagonal pairs, though the first stride wasn't, and into the canter. Again, all the movements come up very quickly. Transition, transition, transition. A lot for the riders to think about, a lot for the horses to engage, to concentrate on.
Yes, the ultimate test for these pony riders here at the European Championships.
Quite a steep angle in this teardrop, the half circle, and then into the counter, canter, counter, canter, right the way down and into and onto A, where the simple change, first of those simple changes will happen, staying in good balance. One that didn't drop off the leg, although the change, simple change aid could have been a little bit clearer to get more definition to that. David Lee there also, president of the ground jury for the eventing, he's watching on. Nice to see the eventing judges have come to watch the dressage. Of course, judging pure, they do judge pure dressage as well. So the second of the simple changes, again, fairly mirrored the transitions. Would have been nice to have seen a tiny bit more preparation in those. Better. Almost muddled in the transition up. medium, back to collected, and then half circle. Nicely done. It's one of those tests that if your pony's not very good at doing simple changes, you haven't got a lot of hope, because there's a lot of them. Claire Howard there from Claire Howard Physiotherapy. She works very closely with all of the ponies, treating them, making sure that they're in peak prime fitness, feeling very well and as well as they can. Well, this is a test that should go up into the top 10, and a great round there. Great test indeed for the British rider Megan Barrett and Valido Starlight.
Yeah, a good test and a picture of absolute concentration there throughout, and particularly at the end there, coming down towards that final halt. Megan Barrett and Valido Starlight. And as we wait for that score, just to remind you that it is Germany in the front at the moment. Jana Lang with NK Cyril on a score of 74.51. And then behind them in Denmark, for Denmark, on a score of 71.714, it is Marja Emily Leth with Gold Fever Hella Bella. Well, that score now here for Megan Barrett and Valido Starlight for Great Britain, a score of 69.829. And, well, Spencer thought it would be a top 10 position, and it is into 7th position at the moment, with the scores for the individual judges of ranging from 68.143 at C through to 71.429 at H. So 69.829 the percentage score, and into 7th place for the British pairing of Megan Barrett and Valido Starlight.
Well, just 4 combinations left to go in the 3rd session of the team dressage here at the FEI European Championships at Bishop Burton College for the ponies. Great start to the first day of competition. 5 days of competition, pure dressage, pure show jumping, and of course eventing.
Well, the first of those 4 still to come forwards in this 3rd and final session of team dressage today. It is Jagmer Öztürk for Turkey with Akarus van der Burgshöf. Combination from Turkey forward. This Chestnut Mare by Isarko out of Elegant. And they are the 23rd. They are the 23rd combination to come forwards today. They turn right at A, canter down the centre line. Jagmer Öztürk for Turkey with Akarus van der Burgshöf.
Yeah, Icarus van der Burgshöf, lovely little pony I've watched on a number of occasions. Really nice, bold, positive entry and move off. Has the capability at times just to drop Jagmer in the test, riding as an individual for Turkey. Going on a lovely way of going. Really takes the stride forward, takes the bridle forward as well. Nice angle in this shoulder in. Almost overdid the angle. It's a difficult one in the arena because you want to go on 3 tracks, but you can overcook it and go on the 4. But she did go on the 3.
Well, a combination who were multiple winners at the Segovia International in May earlier this year. Well, we were talking about personal bests, and they had a PB of 73.210 at that international in Segovia earlier this year.
On their day, they can perform very well. I just know, having watched Icarus in the past, he can occasionally, she can occasionally just lose the plot midway, and it sometimes happens from the walk to the canter. So it'll be interesting to see what happens We'll go from the walk. We'll go back into the trot work for a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see if she can keep a lid on it. Then it's all there, and what are we now? 69.429. So around the, nearly at 70%. The walk showing a good purpose. Oh, Rebecca Bell is back with us. Take a moment to breathe if you want back.
I'll just say it's a good thing I don't run for my sport.
I know I had to run all the way back from, I don't know where you were stood. I was at the commentary position when we opened up the show earlier, and then I think I had 2 minutes to run back, and I ran, and I thought, thank God I've been running.
Yeah. No, I am no such preparation for me.
So just saying to Nick, Icarus, Van der Bulk-Scherver, Jagmer, Ozturk, there's a combination that I've seen. She's riding as an individual for Turkey. They started off really well, and they were nearly at the 70% mark. And on her day, they've had a PB. We talked about PBs, whether they're relevant or irrelevant, of 73%, somewhere up amongst the early 70s. Is that it's all well and good, but I've seen this mare just lose it in the canter work. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform today, and they're going to come into their halt, rein back, and into their canter. She looks fairly settled here today in the arena.
Yeah, it is hard. Sometimes it is the canter that they usually, if they're going to do it, it's where it happens. And because it's at the end of the test as well, it can be very frustrating if you've really built up some good marks, and then suddenly this is where it happens. But it looks to be okay in that first extended.
Yeah, looks very good so far.
Competed it last year in the Europeans in Hungary. First international in 2014 in Istanbul for our rider for Turkey, Jagmer Ozturk.
It's good to see all these nations represented, even if they are still as individuals, because there's some nations that were always represented individually, and they've now built up teams, such as Ireland. So perhaps we'll have a Turkish team at some point.
Yeah, it'd be great to see the Turkish for the team. I'm loving the way this mare has just kept a lid on it so far.
Yeah.
It's a bit like people, some people love, and some horses love, coming into the arena and really absorb atmosphere, and others get stage fright. And it's also, here we go, please don't do it. It's also very interesting that, horses are also very much individuals.
Yeah.
And some come in and, like, oh, look at me. And others are like, oh, don't look at me.
Yeah.
And riding them accordingly.
Absolutely. And I think it's sometimes harder to ride these ones that come in here and they go, oh, don't look at me. Oh, goodness, this is a bit scary. Because you might not be feeling at your most confident, but you've got to transmit to them that you're feeling great, that you're ready to go. Come on, we can do this. And that's quite a hard thing to do. They are so perceptive, horses and ponies. So I think these young jockeys really do well to do that.
Yes, they do. They know how we are really feeling.
So she has final movement, and as soon as she salutes, there we go, good job. She kept it together and actually looking to be a good running score.
Great job. We look forward to hearing that score. So it is the representative from Turkey, Jagmer Ozturk. Great to see her here on Icarus Van der Bulk-Scherver. So with 3 left to go in this third and final session of Team Dressage today. And that score now here for the Turkish combination, a score of 68.8%, putting them into 11th place, and those scores, percentage scores, ranging from 67.714 at E through to 69.429 at M. 68.8 for Jagmer Ozturk.
And that's looking to be the type of score that then, if she can repeat that or improve on that in the qualification round, that is the sort of score that might see you into the freestyle. So, yeah, good for her, representing her country really, really well as an individual.
Yeah, but we'll see if that is a good enough score. But we were just saying earlier, as we understand it, everybody going to get a second chance to compete.
I am pretty sure so. It's the wording is a little bit vague in the schedule, but usually the format of the Europeans, you have 2 days of team test, 2 days of individual test. The top portion from the individual get to do the freestyle, and then it seems that Bishop Burton might very kindly be running a consolation for those who don't get the chance to ride the freestyle. But that's certainly been my experience of it. I might be wrong, but we can clarify that at some point.
Yeah, then we hope very much that is the case, and we look forward to seeing everybody back for a second test. Well, now for Germany. It is Julia Barbien with Der Kleine König 3. This chestnut gelding owned by Julia Barbien, brought forward by Julia Barbien. For Germany, number 24.
And I have to say, if you gave me the field of ponies in an empty horse box, well, first of all, I'd nick mine 2 back, and then I would have this one. He is just incredible, this pony. He's not an easy ride. I've seen him be very naughty before, but he's very, very impressive.
Yeah, the reigning pony champions, strong team, and as Rebecca was saying, certainly this pony has caught Rebecca's eye in every way.
Yeah, he caught my eye certainly last year, and years ago. If I was smaller,
yes,
I'd put him in on my lorry as well.
I could change my passport. That would be great.
Julia Barbien for Germany with Der Kleine König 3.
It's actually a sort of quite an uncharacteristic halt, that, because it was a little bit off to one side, so she'll be thinking, come on now, let's get back into business. This is quite a spooky pony, so I would be interested to see how she handles him in this atmosphere.
Well, this chestnut gelding by Donrix Donvan out of FS Don't Worry. Owner-rider combination.
And you just see the enormous amount of freedom in the shoulder that this pony has. This is not the most assured I have seen him. He does look a little like he might... He's not tense, but he's almost got that impression like he's holding his breath. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, he's a winner of 4 internationals this year. Der Kleine König 3. And during her international career, Julia Barbien has had 40 starts and 12 wins. So, yeah, pretty good stride there for the German international pony rider.
I think that's very impressive. That's
Very,
only a quarter of what she starts.
Huge percentage strike rate.
It was nicely executed, nicely positioned as well. She let that walk carry on for an extra stride. I thought she was going to ask a stride early, but just allowed. She's done this one earlier. So the first one later, this one earlier. And that's great riding because she's gone on the pony's stride rather than this is where it should be. And it's quite easy to do that sometimes, isn't it? You know,
Absolutely.
wait a stride or go a stride early. It's one of those, we talk about damage limitation, lovely walk. He's got real purpose to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is marching for the train.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's not going to be late for his appointment.
Fabulous walk.
And really good that you can see in that close-up that there's no bagging in the rein. The contact is still secure with the mouth. She's giving him confidence as he goes across. And even if he is a little bit sort of unsettled by this environment, she is doing everything she can to make the confidence come through.
Competed at the 2017 Euros.
Well, the Germans here in force. Member of the team that won gold last year, and of course third last to go in tomorrow's session is the individual gold medalist as well as team gold medalist, Lucianuka Bamgurtel.
Who is, I have to say, an incredible rider. She is, or was certainly 2 years ago, absolutely tiny, but just gets the very best out of her pony. I think it's testament to the partnership and the training of this German team. And she's not only European Championship last year, where she was European champion, but
that was
also
her third gold.
Yeah, 2016 as well. 2016 she was triple gold. 2017. So who knows what this team might produce this year?
Okay, sorry, we were just distracted then for a little while. Kind of still got
a wasp.
Wasp that's trying to be overly friendly.
Yeah, so proof that this is authentic and spontaneous commentary.
And live.
Yep. And proof that that pony can definitely canter. He almost made it down the long side in like a horse number of strides there.
Yeah, there's a certain number with the horses that the judges are looking for down the long side. I'm not sure what it is for the ponies.
I don't know. I mean, I've never personally counted. 'Cause, well, that's a bit too much for me to think about while I'm riding. But I think that pony, would certainly be taking several less strides than some of the lesser moving ponies. And that's really where he gets these marks. He just comes off the floor like his transitions, I always think he's like an aeroplane. So he lands, when he takes off from the canter, he's really front end first. He's not sort of driving into the strides.
It's an expression I love using when I'm teaching and when I'm commentating on dressage, is what you're looking for is a plane taking off, not a plane landing.
Yeah.
Making sure that that hind end is engaged, and he demonstrates it beautifully.
Absolutely, and I think the canter work is really this pony's forte. For me, his trot work today is not as strong as I've seen it sometimes, but equally, if he is a little bit tense, it just takes him that time to settle into the test, so she really is playing to his strengths now.
Well, barring a catastrophe, touching wood, I think we're going to see a German 1-2.
Yes, yeah, which is testament to the strength of their team. And they're amazing in that medium canter. You see some of them, they go for it, but it rushes a little. That, you could have just had a metronome to his rhythm and it wouldn't have changed. Unfortunately, just a little bit tense there. But his stride length just increased dramatically.
Well, I can give you some current team standings at the moment. Netherlands out in front, Denmark in second, Great Britain in third. But now this is the second rider for Germany. And at the moment, 142.686 is the team for the Netherlands. Denmark on 142.085. And Great Britain in third, 140.085. But I think this is going to go into the lead.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm going to put 50p on it.
I think, we'll wait for the score to come at this end. And
well, with that bet on, Julia Barbian and Decliner Koenig 3 have completed super test from this German combination, this chestnut gelding by Norix Donovan, as they, on a long rein, make their way out of the arena. So we just wait for this score to come up with 2 left to go in this third and final session of team dressage.
Well, it's certainly hotting up, Becca.
Yeah, definitely.
Seeing some great tests.
Well, that score is now here, and actually into second place. Still a very good score, but into second place, 74.343%, 74.343%, and those scores ranging from 72.571 at E through to 74.714.
So this is shaping up, this is a sort of...
Correction, 76.571 at C. So 70...
Well, more importantly, not only has she gone into second, more importantly...
Germany
are in the lead. No, more
lead.
Importantly, I've just lost 50p.
Oh, well, yes, she didn't go, and I didn't even bet on it, so that was tactical.
So it is Germany 1-2 at the moment. Germany go to the top of the leaderboards in the team standings at the moment on... we'll bring you their score in a second. We're just on percentages at the moment. We'll bring you their score in just a second. But it is Germany at the top, Netherlands, Denmark, Great Britain in fourth as we go down to the last 2 riders. Germany 148.857. These are percentages. Netherlands 142.686. Denmark 142.085. Great Britain fourth 140.085. Belgium fifth. Sweden sixth.
And the German score is looking to shape up. Realistically, the usual gold medal score is around a 222 at the end. So if they had another 74 tomorrow, that's their 222 in the bag. So the other teams are really on the chase now.
Well, now for Austria, the penultimate combination to come forward in this final session of dressage today. Félicité Simonique and Boris Delorbe.
Well, Félicité Simonique and Boris Delorbe as Nick said, second last to go for Austria.
Actually looking very nice to start with. I think my initial impression is fair play to the groom that has got those socks so white with so much of them.
Yeah, they're the unsung heroes, actually.
Absolutely.
Of the sport of equestrianism, not only dressage, but also across the board, dressage, show jumping, cross-country, eventing. They work tirelessly. The only thing I find slightly off-putting about this pony is that there are only 3 of them.
I know, couldn't they have ordered it with 4? No,
Yes.
I think absolutely with the grooms, and especially with these youth riders, they have so much to deal with themselves, so much pressure on quite young shoulders, that having a good groom is a privilege. To have that worry taken away, that you know that your pony is being looked after to the best of anyone's ability, and that they're going to give you a beautifully turned out pony, but more importantly a happy pony to take into the arena.
Well, happy, shiny, I always say happy, shiny horse, happy, shiny rider.
Yep.
And I always was one of those very picky and very pernickety about how my horses were turned out and how they still are turned out, that, you know, I then get on feeling sparkly and shiny, they're feeling sparkly and shiny. It makes a huge difference to the whole overall picture and overall feel.
Absolutely, and it's not just even the turnout before the test here. It would have been all those cold nights in the winter for all of these riders and their grooms and their teams behind them, that the pony has come in sort of covered in mud, perhaps a bit scabby, the coat hasn't changed properly, they've lost a bit of weight, or they've put too much on.
Are you trying to sell this sport?
No, I am. Well, we all know that that's all. That there is a lot of graft that goes into this.
There's a lot of it.
And I think it's lovely that there is a platform for it all to be demonstrated on like this. And yeah, I think that everyone in the team deserves equal recognition. Yes, it's the riders that go down the centre line and arguably have the sort of the final job,
it's the
but it's
support
the
team
support
that make
team.
it work. Yeah,
100%.
Well, the 11-year-old Bougue de l'Aube, ridden now by Félicité Simonique, but formerly ridden by the Danish rider Emily Thorny-Finch. And we've talked a little bit today about these ponies being wonderful mounts for a variety of riders.
Yep, and you can see quite a young rider, I think, here, isn't she?
Yeah, and cross nations as well.
A young rider doing a very good test. That running score looking very good.
The 14-year-old Félicité Simonique.
So that was unfortunate because it was a very well engaged halt. The hind legs nicely under the pony, but none of the legs quite square.
Well, their best result so far was second in the team pony competition at Brno.
Just keeping that balance nicely in the counter-canter there. The rhythm not changing. Unfortunately there, what sort of looked to happen is the pony just dropped behind her leg in that final stride and lost the engagement, so that's why she had a couple of trot steps, which means the transition wasn't as direct and won't get the mark it perhaps could have. So watching her come into this next one, it'll be interesting to see how much, whether she changes the way that she rode it to try and get an improved transition.
This owner-rider combination from Austria. Chestnut gelding by Don't Worry out of Vorello.
So very maturely ridden. She did indeed change the way that she rode and got a much more direct transition second time round. So let's see how these double marked ones go. Yeah, again. So unfortunate that it happened the first time, but that was an example actually of her sort of learning from it and adapting accordingly and moving on to the next movement positively.
Well, I'm just going to just point out something fairly obvious. We are at Bishop Burton College for the FEI Pony European Championships 2018. If you're watching on telly, wherever you're watching on TV, these are ponies. They look like horses on screen,
yeah,
totally and utterly. They measure at 14.2, 151 centimetres maximum. But if you just tuned in, you'd think these were horses.
Oh, definitely, and especially this one, actually, because he's got quite a small jockey on board, and he's really uphill and sort of quite impressive moving. He does almost look like a mini horse, and that's a very happy little girl.
That's so lovely to see, isn't it? She's so proud of her ride and the job they did. That will go, I'm pretty sure, into the top 10. I'd be surprised if it didn't, although I've already lost 50p. in for a penny, in for a pound. Well, I've just got one left to go in this team test.
So, Felicity Simoncic, absolutely delighted with that test. Well, the score is through now for Felicita Simoncic and Bouguereau. It is a score of 69.857, 69.857%, slotting them into 8th place, and those percentage scores ranging from 68.714 at E through to 71.857 at M. 69.857 and into 8th place.
So interestingly, M being the top scoring of the judge again there actually has been the case for many of these riders, which makes it is absolutely fine then, because if the judge is consistently higher, they are judging the class entirely consistently. So for anyone watching who sort of balks a little bit at those percentage differences between top and bottom judge, it has actually seemed to be fairly consistent across the class. I mean, I haven't looked at the score sheet in its entirety, but it looks to be very good.
Yep, consistent across the board. Yep, I would concur with that as our final combination comes forward for this final session of dressage, team dressage, on the first day of the 2018 FEI European Championships for Pony, and it is for Italy. Silvia Di Chiatio with Duisman. Down the centre line they come. For Italy, Silvia Di Chiatio and Duisman.
Interestingly, watching this pony around the outside, he did look to be another that might have a little bit of stage fright about this arena. She's having to work quite hard to just keep him up in front of her and to keep his nose seeking forward. Tends to be their tendency, ponies and horses alike. If they are a little bit intimidated, they will sort of that dropping of the pole is quite characteristic of it.
She's doing a good job to keep him coming up to the bridle. We talked about, you know, stage fright, some of them coming in and just having a bit of stage fright, but what's nice is that you've got a few moments of finding out how stage frit they feel when you're in the other arena.
Yes.
So you get a slight sense of how they're going to feel when you come in, but there's no telling. I mean, every time, and you know as well as I do, you go into the arena, they're never the same twice, and you never ride the same test twice. There's always something that you could be better, and the way they are, you know, they're animals, and it's one of the few sports that we work with together that that human and animal are as one, working as a partnership.
Yeah, and it is hard. Sometimes it is very hard to convince them that no, it's okay. It's not scary because They don't have the same. They can't go in there and go, it's the Europeans. Of course, there's going to be people watching me. They go in there and go, goodness me, there's a whole load of people at the end of the arena. I'm not quite sure why that is. We haven't had that before. So it's quite a job to convince them. No, it's okay. We can work together. It's the same as usual.
Yeah, taking that atmosphere from home and bringing it here is what we all strive to do, is to keep that level of consistency, because the second it starts changing, and we change, of course, because nerves come into play and they can sense those nerves, the second that starts changing, everything changes.
Well, just 13 years old, Silvia Di Chiatio for Italy on the 14-year-old Duisman. 3 top 10 places at Ornago earlier this year in March. First year competing internationally, a partnership that have been together for just a year now.
So again, they're a new combination by sort of some of these combination standards. So it is sometimes even more of a challenge then to really, really work together in this sort of atmosphere, because you don't know each other completely inside out. She probably never had this atmosphere with him before.
No, he had quarters leading then at the start of his half pass, and corrected, but it was almost a little bit too late, the correction.
Yeah, it would be quite expensive.
He just drops her, doesn't he, every now and again?
Yeah, she's having to work quite hard with her legs.
Right
exactly there.
Perfectly executed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've actually got them all on mic, and they're demoing for us. No, but that is one of the hardest things to ride too, if they just drop behind you in the arena, because it doesn't give you the greatest feeling. You don't feel very confident as a result. But you've got to sort of bolster yourself and be like, no, come on, we can do this, stay in front of me, stay with me. So he's not being the most helpful on that front. So if any of you watching sort of wondering why she is moving quite a lot with her legs, I think she's just doing her very best job that she can to keep him in front of her leg. The ponies have very strict ruling on the length of their spurs, so they can only be blunt and very short. So that is sort of to eliminate any possibility of these pony riders who are often not as physically strong as an adult rider, having spurs that are sort of slightly longer. So as with everything with our sport, and as with everything that people strive for, it's all about the welfare of the horse.
We've had a couple of people commenting on the height of the ponies, 14.2151 being maximum height. We had one that was sadly eliminated, I think, at the first height inspection for being over tall.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There is a discretion on that, but they then have to get them remeasured in a certain amount of time, otherwise they're out of ponies for life. But somebody said on social media about the height of the riders, because they thought that some of the riders are quite tall. There's no height restriction on riders, it's just...
it's age.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes we grow out of them, might stay on them for one more year, but I can assure you that they're not over ponied or over rided. That they're more than capable of carrying the riders that are on their backs.
They are very strong, these ponies. They do a lot of cross training and work outside of the dressage arena. This is by no means all they do with their life. So they are, well, little athletes themselves, and these riders, they want to get there last year, and sometimes it might not be the most balanced picture, but we are all doing it and making sure that they're happy athletes too.
So Silvia Di Teateo just glancing to her left there before she came to the halt on Duisman for Italy. This combination, who are in their first year of international competition, bring the team dressage to a close for this first day of competition.
Well, great to see the last to go for Italy. We then will now complete the first day of team dressage here. So thank you very much to you guys for watching, wherever you've been watching around the world. And I know there's been people watching on the beach, watching the dressage, but the final score, Nick.
The final score, Silvia Di Teateo and Duisman, score of 64.229%, putting them into 22nd place.
And so the current leaderboards, it is Jana Lang, NK Cyril, 74.514 for Germany out in front. Julia Barbarian and Klein Koenig 3, 74.343. Germany 1-2 with Marja Emily Leth and Gold Fever Hella Bella in third for Denmark, 71.714. Moving down further the leaderboard, the Netherlands in fourth and fifth. And in equal sixth place, it's Denmark and Great Britain's Isabel Lickley, Valido Sunshine, on 70.371. They're the top six so far in the individual standings. The team standings, it is Germany out in front, 148.86. In second, the Netherlands, 142.69. In third, Denmark, 142.09. And in fourth place, Great Britain, 140.09, with Belgium 5th, Sweden 6th, France 7 and Norway 8. It's certainly not over, with more riders to come here in the second half of the team dressage for the FEI European Championships at Bishop Burton College for the ponies. We start tomorrow. We hope you can join us with live action from the eventing dressage. Part 1 of the eventing dressage will also be moving to show jumping, and hopefully the dressage team's second stage of that. But from us all here, from Nick Wood, from Rebecca Bell and myself, Spencer Sturmey, and the whole team, if you've been watching the live stream, a very good night from us, and we'll see you all again for day 2 here at Bishop Burton College for the Pony FEI European Championships.